fiddling with the levels, trying to make sure.
Ooh, apparently we're live. Hello.
Okay. Apparently we're live. That's a great start to a show, isn't it? Apparently we're live.
Like CNN.
Yeah. Let me turn the sound.
Did you see that news anchor that stormed off when they were reporting on furries, and somebody told her what furries are, and she just refused to keep doing the show?
Really?
I think it was MSNBC. Yeah, she just ran off.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was funny.
Hang on. Let me just. People are asking me questions on Facebook here as well. You can post to. I'm putting @ method down for now. They're saying what's the Twitter thing? Because I said people could tweet questions as well.
Oh, the Twitters.
Okay,
then I'll let them tweet you.
Yeah, well, I'll just put this on here. People probably know it's either @Fabsh or @method dan, really.
I'll look at. I'll turn my Twitter on as well. There's lots of people in the IC.
There is. Hello to everybody in the IC.
It's a veritable menagerie.
So you're going to say menage a trois then? I was going to say, is it?
Well,
is that really? More than three, yeah.
It's a menagerie ILC.
Hang on.
You know what I was writing about? You know the French, you know the German BSI, the Bundesamt für Sicherheits in der Informationstechnik. Like that's kind of our search. You thought that was a long name. You know what the French is called? The ANSI.
The ANSI.
Yeah. The oh god, I have to look it up. I can't. I could do it from heart, but it's ANSSI. It's the Agence Nationale de la Sécurité des Systèmes d'Information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So it's the National Agency for the Security of Computer Systems. Agence Nationale de la Sécurité des Systèmes d'Information.
Nice.
Have a baguette with that.
Yeah. Birth. And I think it is Flight of the Conchords again.
Passeport.
La bibliothèque. Discothèque. Yeah. Birth. Anyway,
have you seen this news story that's floating around that I think is completely made up?
No. What about what?
It's Gerard Depardieu apparently drinks like 12 bottles of red wine a day.
Oh, I think I did hear that. Yeah.
Doesn't get drunk.
Yeah, I doubt that somehow.
Yeah.
I think I know he was in trouble for like tax evasion, wasn't he, or something?
Yeah, he went to Russia.
Which, to be honest, is not. Since the last show, I can say this anyway. But having lived in France for like a year, I can tell you tax evasion is the national sport over there. No, I'm not in a nasty way. They have a lot of taxes, and it's kind of expected that you will avoid somehow, and that's they're going to sting you somewhere else.
There's a German area called the Palatinate, funnily, where the vineyard they keep talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They're from there. It's a German wine region, and they're kind of the same. Like they're all evading the taxes of some kind.
Well, I remember when I've many years ago, went to. First time I'd ever really been across France on a train, on a train journey. Just looking out the window, there's just shitloads of forests everywhere. And I remember saying to somebody, wow, I didn't realize there's so much like woodland in France. And they said, oh yeah, well, the reason is because to avoid land tax in France, you don't pay land tax if your land has a forest on it, has wood on it. So therefore, everybody just grows shitloads of trees, so they don't have to pay tax. Which, to be honest, from a green perspective, is probably quite a good idea. It's probably quite clever for the environment or whatever. Anyway, so, wow, loads of people turning up.
Roman says, where's 369? It's not out yet.
It is recorded. It's actually not finished. I haven't finished editing it yet.
Yeah.
I'm about 3/4 of the way through editing it.
Take your time. I know what it's not like I have time to release it right now. I actually, when you finish this show, I will have to write another story.
Oh, okay.
That's
not about this show, though.
No, it's about Elite Dangerous, which comes out tomorrow, so I should better have the new story written.
Oh, cool.
I've been doing screenshots, and I'm still not done with that. Anyway, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, people were worried we were just going to rename this one as skip 369 and go straight to 370. There's actually loads of stuff recorded ready to come out. So don't worry about that.
Well, there's that one episode. I released 368
Oh, sorry, yeah.
last night.
That was last night, wasn't it? Yeah. at one point, I think there were 4 shows nearly. No, 3 shows waiting to come out. So there is more to come. Don't worry about it. I
still have 2 Angels of Death that I haven't edited. It's horrible. Anyway, I'll start recording, shall I?
Yeah, let me start recording too. We should probably get started half an hour after. That's not too bad actually for us.
Actually, for our standards.
Elite Outlaws.
Quite.
Elite Dangerous, yeah. Okay. So.
Dangerous. Dangerous. Ow.
Dangerous. Is that Michael Jackson or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. I've some of these audio questions I haven't even listened to, so I guess we'll find out what they are.
This will be interesting.
Yeah, they might just be abuse, but to be honest, it doesn't really matter.
Well, that wouldn't be different, would it? I mean.
No. Well, what are they going to do? Ban us? It's the last show anyway.
Yeah.
So what are they really going to do? What are you going to do to us at this point? Although, mind you, we should be nice because the Google gods might frown upon us.
The last episode, I will film this on a phone if I have to. Over Skype.
Yeah, that's true. We could do actually. I'm just gonna grab some. Actually, I can do this as we're going.
That's a.
No, I was going to say I need to grab one of the videos that we've got for later, but I can do that anyway as we go along. Okay. All right. I think I'm pretty much ready.
Okay. I'll start the show then.
Right.
For the very last time.
Yeah.
Linux Outlaws is proudly sponsored by Bytemark UK. Check out their Big V platform for all your web hosting needs. Find out more at bytemark.co.uk. Six Gun Productions. New media, new rules.
You know what?
Sorry, what happened there? I muted my mic.
Yeah, let's redo this. I have an idea. I just had an idea. Just occurred to me.
Okay.
I wonder if I have the old intro music.
The old intro? The first one from the first?
The shitty one. Let's lose it.
Let's find that right now.
I wonder what it's called. Let's see. Original. Here we go. Let's try.
I think I've got it somewhere. Yeah.
I think I got it. Let me see. Yeah, that's the shitty version. Let's do that. Okay.
All right.
Let's start again.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Oh, hang on a sec. Sorry. Yeah, before you do that. Yeah, people are saying the music's too quiet in the. It does sound a bit quiet on this end. Yeah. I don't know why.
I wonder why that would be.
Your voice is louder than the music on the noise I'm getting anyway.
Yeah, tell me if that's better.
Linux Outlaws is proudly sponsored.
Yeah, sounds a bit better.
Okay. It's very loud on my end, but I'll just have to turn this down. It's okay.
Mhm.
I can figure that out. Okay, let's try that again. Third time lucky.
Yeah.
Linux Outlaws is proudly sponsored by Bytemark UK. Check out their Big V platform for all your web hosting needs. Find out more at bytemark.co.uk. Six Gun Productions. New media, new rules.
My God, that's horrible! Hey everybody, welcome to Linux Outlaws 370, the last episode.
Yeah, 370 already, and that was in case anybody is, but to be honest, I was going to say new to the show, but we haven't really played that since that music that you heard just then. since probably the second or third show, or I don't know, something like that.
And for good reason.
Yeah, that was the original theme
shit
music
to
that Fab did for the show, and then I remixed, if you like.
You mean you made music out of it?
Yeah. D-Mail says Method Dan has since learnt to play the guitar. I'll just point out that wasn't me. That wasn't me on that.
The scary thing is that I actually can play the guitar less now.
Wow. Okay. Maybe we should.
Don't have time. Yeah, this is the very last Linux Outlaws.
I did think
In
when
case
we were
you haven't heard, I had somebody today, several people,
really
ask me.
I did think actually before we when we were thinking of ideas for the final show, I did think of us trying to play the theme tune for the last one, but the delay between the VoIP and stuff, I don't think it really would have worked. Yeah. But if we could have played it together, but we do have a bit of live music coming up for you later, so that's something to look forward to.
And Dan and me are wearing special shirts for the
yes. Yeah. Hold on. Video. Move the mic out of the way.
Outlaws to the end.
Yeah.
And you're that's from Red Dead Redemption, and you've got a hash final ride.
Yeah, it's from Sons of Anarchy. So I mentioned on a previous show. I mentioned on a show that at this point nobody listening live will have heard because it's not released. I mentioned that I had to thank Eric Bayer for sending me some wonderful gifts, and this was one of them. He sent me a Sons of Anarchy glass, like a pint glass with Sons of Anarchy with the Reaper logo and stuff on it. It's really cool. And he sent me this as well. And this is they just finished their last week, in fact, and they had this hashtag #final ride. It seems appropriate for
I haven't watched the show, but I'm going to.
Yeah, well, I won't say anything about it because it's just finished for me. I've just watched the last one ever, so that's kind of appropriate. So thank you to Eric for that again. I should say.
ISC Mitzi in the ISC saying, "What? No Xmas special? Well, this is the Christmas special. Your
Merry
present
Christmas,
is we're ending the show. Merry fucking Christmas."
I was just about to say, Merry Christmas, motherfuckers. This is the end, my friend. I'm trying to think of the Doors song. This is the end, my friend, my only friend. So we got some stuff to. Well, we're gonna do. We got lots of questions and stuff to get through for today, and we've also got all kinds of stuff to mention as well. So first thing we need to mention is this week I got my copy of Linux Voice in the mailbox, my actual physical mailbox, as I said on Twitter or wherever, not my IMAP mailbox. Although I think I did get the digital version to there as well. But I went and got my copy of the magazine. I think it's issue 11. And when I looked at the front cover, it was in the plastic covering, it normally has. So it had like a cover sheet thing, but it was on the back. So I looked at the front cover, and on the bottom, people have probably seen by now, there's pictures on Twitter and other places. It's a little picture of us in the bottom corner, and it says there's a feature in about us finishing.
It's not any picture. It's the picture we took at Dan's place. UUPC had just had a photographer take pictures of them on a beach or something, like publicity shots. And Dan and me were like, we're going to take the piss out of them. So we went into the back, Dan's mum's house, the back garden, and took some ridiculous photos. It's one of those.
It is, and it's also one of the ones which, to my eternal shame, if you look at it, you'll probably notice, to anybody who knows anything about hats, that my hat's actually backwards because I didn't know how to wear a hat properly at that point. In my defense, the thing that tells you which way it's supposed to face had rubbed off, so front towards enemy or whatever wasn't on there. So
front towards what, a claymore?
yeah. So I didn't know, and it looks, it's funny. But anyway, so to continue the story, so I opened it, and I knew that, and you did as well, that our good friend Les Pounder from Blackpool Lug, he'll be coming. He's got some audio coming up in a bit. He was asked us some questions. He wrote with us some questions to write an article about the end of the show for the Linux Voice magazine. So we kind of knew there was going to be something in there, but I didn't expect it to be on the front cover. But then I tweeted, "Oh, this is amazing," whatever, and frustrated Fab by not posting the pictures for a long time. Well, not that long, about 20 minutes or something. What happened was the door went, and I had to talk to somebody at the door, and it's like my phone's buzzing, going, "Stop stop favoriting things and send me pictures. I posted about it, and then Les said, "Have you seen the back cover?" At which point I hadn't actually ripped off the plastic thing, so I hadn't seen the back cover because it had a piece of paper in the way. So I pulled it off, and the back cover was a full-page advert from Bytemark saying, best wishes to Linux Outlaws to the final show.
Proud sponsors till the very end.
Yeah, and they tweeted today about it as well.
Yeah, that was really cool.
It is. So a big thank you to them, and a big thank you to Linux Voice as well, obviously, and Les and everybody else. So that was very cool. Thanks, guys, for that. I mentioned here, this could kind of go in the main question feedback stuff, but Jezra sent this video to me on Google Plus, and probably to you as well, but I wanted to quickly try and play it because it's really short. It's like 10 seconds, but I believe it's worth it. Let's see if this works. I'm going to turn this up a bit and see if I can. You might hear the noise from what's his name? There you go, from Linux Mint. Right, here we go. So let's see if this works. This is Jezra's. So one of the things, I mean, it's appropriate that we played the original theme tune, because one of the things that's happened is people have sent us alternative versions over the years. We've had, like, Jezra's done loads. John Culp, who's listening tonight. Hello, John. He's our resident music professor. He's done loads of
that the IC is full of, we're getting the old guard back together.
We're getting the band back together.
It's
yeah,
really
loads
cool.
of people did different versions, and Jezra's done a lot of versions, and he sent me this version, which is on like pan pipe type things. I think, I don't know how you describe it. They're like, well, they're kind of like a tubes that he's hitting.
Yeah, it looks like a xylophone. That's
a little bit
upside down.
But it's like he's made the thing. Knowing Jezra, he probably has. It looks like he's made it himself.
It is a Jezra phone.
So it probably is made by Jezra. I want to very quickly play this alternative version. It calls it the hella short version. It's only about 10 seconds long. So let's see if this works. Here we go. Oh, hang on. I forgot that Firefox is now asking me every time I want to load something with Flash.
Is there a little turtle? Oh,
no, I'm getting the. Would you like to run
Flash
this?
Is out of date.
Apparently, yeah. Let's see.
Vulnerabilities.
Yeah, but when I go to the website, it tells me this is the latest version of Flash, so I don't know. Well, anyway, so let me click allow to see if this works. There you go. So hopefully that
my guitar playing.
Hopefully that came through all right. Do you know what it sounds like to me though? I don't know if you have this in Germany. I know you have the same like announcers and stuff. I don't know if they do the same thing we have here. They have this it's like a glockenspiel thing. So they go boom, 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 and then they make an announcement. But it often sounds like that. Not the same tune, obviously, but it often sounds like that. So I'm kind of waiting for every time I hear that, I'm waiting for someone to go, the 12:45 to Newcastle will be delayed, or something. Will be delayed by 10 minutes or something.
We don't have that. Although, Deutsche Bahn used to have something like this, but they used to have that on television. Like the really old Tagesschau thing was, I think, originally a guy playing like a Glockenspiel or something.
Okay. Interesting.
I've got a really weird buzzing noise.
I'm just going to say I can hear a buzzing noise now.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can every now and again. It'll probably I hope it's not on the recording. It probably is. That'll probably be.
Probably is.
It might be appropriate anyway. So
this is falling apart. This is the end.
This is the end. I don't know if we talked about it since we started recording as such, but the Icecast, the old laptop that I used to stream the Icecast stream for the audio, wouldn't actually boot up, and I had to take bits out of it and start making sure they were. It still runs a really old version of Crunchbang, yeah.
Is it 15 years old?
It's 804, so yeah, okay. 6 years old. 6 and a bit. No. Yeah, 6 and a bit. It'll be 7 years old in April next year, this installation. But the laptop that it's on is actually 15 years old. It's a really, really old laptop. It doesn't work at all without being plugged in because the battery died God knows how long ago. But it runs Crunchbang great, and it does this one job which I wanted to do, which is the Icecast. But then today it wouldn't boot up, so I had to take the hard drive out of the laptop and clean it and put it back in, and the battery, and make sure everything. And eventually I got it working, but I was slightly worried that it wasn't going to work at all for the final show.
My God, this is everything's falling apart. Things going to hell.
Yeah, well, that's fun. That's fun. So thank you to Jezra for that. Anyway,
That was cool.
yeah, I really like that. It made me happy anyway to listen to that. So I've got a quick note before we get into the AMA stuff. Like ask me anything. Ask us. It should be AUA for us. Shouldn't it? Ask us anything.
Yeah.
Wah!
It's Reddit speak. It
that-
doesn't make any sense.
Aua? Ooh, how would you say that? I don't know.
Yeah,
Aua!
that would mean I'm hurt
Aua!
in German.
Oh, okay. Makes us sound like Bjork. Ooh-ah, ooh-ah, there is a fire. Anyway,
Oh, God.
so just a throwback to anybody who's remembers that joke. Yeah, yesterday, in fact, I mean, I've mentioned how busy I've been lately, and people will laugh now because they'll go, "What? You've got time to do this as well?" But about a month ago or so, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to go and see this film yesterday, this indie film. At Fact, which is a little kind of cinema and art gallery and stuff in Liverpool, and I didn't really know anything about it at all when I went down there. To be honest, I hadn't even watched the trailer. All I knew was that it's so indie that it was one of these things where they only show the film if enough people buy the tickets in advance by a certain date. So we had to make sure, I think it was 100 people or I don't know, 80 people or something had bought tickets, or it wasn't actually going to be shown at all. So I went down.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That is indie.
That's so indie, yeah. So I went
hella
down.
indie, as Jessa would say.
Yeah, I went down yesterday to the cinema at midday, and
I think I figured out what the noise was.
Oh, what was it?
There's actually a loose power cable here, which I was bumping with my foot, which I think was connected to power. Okay. Nearly electrocuted myself. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, actually, people are saying in the IRC as well, I should mention this. People always say this whenever I say the name FACT, because it also stands for the Federation Against Copyright Theft or something, which is a bunch of idiots who run around trying to stop people.
I believe the C in that fact stands for cunts.
Probably. The one here, it stands for Foundation for Art and Creative Technology, I think. Fact. Anyway, but it's like an art gallery and all these kind of things. I don't know if they knew there was already an organization called Fact when they, they opened.
The local, it's terrible. The local art center here in Isenhang is called MPAA.
Yeah. Anyway, so what was I going to say? Yeah, so I went down there to watch it, and it's a film called Things We Do in the Shadows, or What We Do in the Shadows, it may be called. I might have got that wrong. But the only thing I knew about it was that it had one of the guys from Flight of the Conchords in it, so I thought, well, it can't be that bad. So I went down, and I just wanted to mention, if you haven't seen it or you haven't heard of it, people, check it out. I think it's called What We Do in the Shadows, but it's basically yeah, it's a fake documentary. It's New Zealand. It says New Zealand.
Mockumentary.
Mockumentary, yeah. It says New Zealand Documentary Board or something at the start, and I think they've faked that as well, to be honest. I don't think that's real. But yeah, it's Jermaine from Flight of the Conchords, Jermaine Clement. He wrote it, and he's one of the stars.
Really? That's interesting. I watched the Hobbit 2 over the weekend.
This time it's personal.
Which is way too long.
Hobbit harder. No, sorry.
Yeah, which is the other Flight of the Conchords. It's got Brett in it as an elf.
A Good Day to Hobbit Hard? No? What's it called? I don't know.
Hobbit Harder.
Hobbit Harder.
Hobbit 2. Hobbit Harder.
Hobbit Harder, yeah. Hobbit with a Vengeance.
Porn movie.
Yeah. Hobbit with a Vengeance.
Oh my god, I wish it was a porn movie. It's a horrible movie, actually. It's not very good. It's like, I watched the extended version and it's way too long. And then it has a fucking cliffhanger at the end, and you're like, what the fuck? What did I just watch 3 hours and 50 minutes of crap for? And then they don't even kill the fucking dragon. Spoilers. But it's of course, it's got Evangeline Lilly in it from Lost.
Oh, yeah.
And anything that's got Evangeline Lilly in it makes me forget how bad it is for a while.
Yeah, so anyway, this film's, as I say, it's very
Stephen Fry is excellent in it anyway. Sorry, yeah.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Meanwhile, back at What We Do in the Shadows, it's a fake documentary about a group of vampires who live together and share a house in Wellington in New Zealand, and it's about their lives. And Jermaine Clement plays one of the. Is it about vampires.
Does the toothbrush fence make an entrance?
It doesn't actually, but to be honest, it doesn't need the toothbrush fence. It's that good. Also, Murray's in it.
He's got a tash. I nearly didn't recognize him.
And Murray's in it as well. Rhys Darby, the guy who plays Murray, is the head of like the werewolves in it, which is really funny because he keeps going, "I'm the alpha male, right, guys?" And he's trying to tell them what to do, and he's trying to tell the other werewolves what to do, and they don't really understand. But one of them keeps one of the best bits is one of them keeps swearing. This isn't a spoiler, by the way; it's in the trailer. One of them keeps swearing, or a couple of them keep swearing, and Murray's like, "There's no need for that, guys," and he goes, "What do we say?" And they all go, "We're werewolves, not swearwolves." And he goes, "That's right, guys." And he's they keep screaming him like, "We're werewolves, not swearwolves." So yeah, watch it anyway. It's a really weird independent film. It's not actually on general release anyway in the UK. You have to go to one of these screenings because like it's so kind of indie that you can't you can't find it. Somebody said it's my hipster cred or something in the IRC. I don't know about that because I didn't know anything about it until my friend. Maybe it's my friend's hipster cred, and somehow I've inherited some of it. But I do encourage you to check it out. And people who are listening live or watching live, in the chat room there, Joe Ressington's posted the IMDb link as well if you want to check that out. So yeah, I encourage people to watch it. It's very, very funny. There we go.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right, and so what else have we got?
I can well, it's the last show, but anyway, I can recommend people get a Sonos.
Oh,
Katie and me gave each other Sonosies. That sounds dirty. For Christmas, and I know it's not Christmas yet, but when you're growing up and nobody else is watching, you can do these things. So we now have one in the kitchen, one in the living room, and I will not say who gave which one to whom because then they'll be like sexist.
Oh wow, yeah.
People figure out I gave Katie the one for the kitchen. That would be horrible. They're awesome. They're great. I can recommend them very much. I listened to podcasts today, but obviously also very good for music. And they have, we bought the little ones. They're like mono things. I'm not a big stereo fan anyway. For some reason, I don't know. So they, I don't know. But I don't know what people get out of stereo. Anyway, it sounds so they sound good on their own. Apparently, you can also put two in a room and then have them stereo. But we have this one in the kitchen and one in the living room, and it's really cool. You can walk through the hallway, and it's like they're synced perfectly. So it's really, I don't know how they do it. Like the installation is like really easy. You put it in your network, and it just triggers everything else out, and then you just play music from your Android phone.
It's cool. I mean, I've been doing that with the Chromecast. It's not quite the same, but I've been doing that. I don't think we even mentioned. I don't know if we've even talked about it.
Yeah, talked about that. Yeah,
we did talk about it. Yeah, so I've been using the Chromecast for loads of stuff. With Plex as well, which Plex is a freedom-hating piece of software, but it's really fucking good.
Sonos are very freedom-hating, I think.
Yeah, it works brilliantly on Linux. Plex, you just install the server package. It's in like Ubuntu and Debian, and maybe not Debian, but it's in Ubuntu and all the derivatives, and it's just in the repos. But it's very good anyway. So if you want to hate freedom but share your media easily, then that's quite a good option. Cool. All right, and so we've got. I don't know whether we should move. I might on the fly change this. I've got in our points here to mention at the start the whole thing about podcasts that we listen to and recommend. But actually, one of the questions is about that, so I might move this down to the end, and we'll start doing questions. What do you reckon? And then we can
from questions, as they say on the Crate and Crowbar.
Yeah. Here we go. So podcasts we recommend. There we go. All right, and so we've got some email stuff as we're going as well. Since this is the final show, lots of people in the chat room, as we mentioned. We're up to 91 people. That's pretty good. If you want to send us questions as we're going along, obviously you can do that in the chat room in the IRC if you're in there, or if you want, you can tweet to either of us basically. So it's at Fabsh or at MethodDan, and you can tweet us and we'll have a look at those as well. And I'll keep an eye on the Twitter messages as we go through if people have questions and so on. And we've been asking people for audio to send audio questions, and we've got quite a few of those, and I'm going to play some of those. So we've got to start with. We've actually got. This isn't a question. It's more of a comment. But we've got one from To Be Frank, good name, who sends his apologies to all Australian listeners because his Australian accent. No offense, Frank. His Australian accent may be worse than mine, and that's saying something. But this is his tribute from Ned Kelly, the famous outlaw, obviously. So let's see if we can get that.
Frank Boba Fett of Australia.
Here we go.
Gentlemen, this is Ned Kelly speaking from inside of his armor. I would like to congratulate the Linux Outlaws for 7 years of excellent outlaw work. I'm sure it must have taken a lot of energy and ammunition. I would also like to salute your decision not to wait till you grow old and weak in the knee, but to go out in a blaze of glory. So all the best for your last stand. Spend your bullets wisely, and see you all in hell.
Yeah, really nice message. Thanks for that, Frank. But it didn't sound at all Australian to me.
I
did
like the touch from inside of his armor, though.
Yeah, it should have been more like. It should have been like
now that you
Bane.
said that, I'm pretty sure that TLLTS has Ned Kelly routinely on their show.
Do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, there are people that sound like they're broadcasting from inside Ned Kelly's armor. I can tell you that much.
Fair enough. All right, and so thanks to be Frank for that one. That was really nice. He sounded a little bit South African to me at times. There was a bit of that kind of South Africa going on. Anyway, so that was cool. Thanks for that. All right, so on to the actual questions then. So I mentioned our good friends from Blackpool Lug before, Les and Ollie and Tony and all the other guys, Aaron and everyone else as well. And they've sent us some audio. They've actually sent us questions from each of them. So I don't know how well this is going to work because they've rather kindly, actually, it's probably very clever of them. They've put big gaps in between, like in the audio, just big bits of silence between the questions
Right.
to make it easy. But actually what's happened is because I can't see, I'm not opening it in like Audacity or something where I can see the waves. It's going to be hard for me to guess where the next question is. So let's see how that goes. But yeah, here we go. So let's listen to this. This is Les and Ollie and Tony. So let's see. Here we go.
Hi Dan and Fab, it's Les, Ollie and Tony. We're really sorry that this is the end of the line for Linux Outlaws, but you've given us, your audience, so much over the 7-year run, and are unquestionably one of the most successful Linux podcasts in recent memory.
You've created a new style of podcasting, the remote host podcast, which up until you guys started the show, hadn't really been attempted by any non-commercial podcast.
You've also influenced many of your listeners to take the mantle and produce podcasts of their own, including us. Thank you for the great moments through the years. Okay, we each have a question for you both. So without further ado, here we go. Hi guys, it's Tony. My question is, if there was one moment that you could revisit from the last 7 years of interviews and ask another question of that person, who would it be and what would the question be?
All right, so I'm going to pause that now so we can answer that. So in case you didn't hear, that was if we could revisit any one of the interviews we've done in the last 7 years, who would we want to ask one more question of now that we didn't ask at the time?
One question before we answer that question. Why are they also in Ned Kelly's armor?
Everybody's in Ned Kelly's armor today. I've got the Ned Kelly's armor filter on my audio.
That's okay. I can answer for me. I mean, I would like to. We talked to Karl Mane once, the head of business at Mojang. Minecraft dudes, and obviously now they're sold out to the evil empire. And I would like to know why. Why did you do this to us? How could you?
That's a really good one, actually. I hadn't thought about.
Of any evil company with money, why Microsoft?
I don't know. Maybe Facebook weren't available or something. Actually. I don't know, to be honest. Now that you've said that, I wish I'd thought of that as a good answer. What would I ask? I think we once had Leonard Pottering on the show. You interviewed him at a conference. Yeah. I might want to go and ask him why what is he really trying to develop his own operating system here? Because it kind of feels like it. Either that, or I thought
trying to take over the desktop.
Yeah, I thought maybe Miguel de Casa as well would be a good one. Ask him, does he still believe that mono's worth doing and stuff? I don't know, because life's changed a little bit since then, as we know. That's a tough one to answer, that though. I'm not sure. But thanks to Tony for that. Shall I see if I can get Ollie's question as well? Let's see if I can get it without too much of a gap. I may have to skip through. Expect a bit of. All right, we may get a bit of silence. They've put 10 seconds or more of space in. Quiet. Here we go.
Hey guys, it's Ollie. I've got a question for you. You've had so many great moments over the years. What was your personal favourites?
All right, and this is one we've asked a lot. Personal favourite moments from the show. Go on, you can go first.
I don't know. It's kind of hard. I mean, the first live show was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think now I've been thinking about this a bit, but it just occurred to me just now. We were talking about the photos we took. The one that's in Linus' voice. That's actually from my very first trip to the UK.
Oh yeah,
was to visit you. I'd never been in the UK before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been on a stopover at Heathrow once and just looked out, out of the airport on the street, and that was it. Yeah, I think that was pretty cool. That was cool. That was like we did a whole week, didn't we? Like Katie was with me, and like Anna was there, and Will, and we were at like your mom's place, and we're getting hilariously drunk and playing like Lego
Star Wars,
blowing shit up, and we're playing like Wii tennis or something. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah, playing the Lego Star Wars stuff. I still haven't got there's the new Lego Batman 3's just come out, and I haven't got it, and I really want to get it because that looks really good. Anyway, so favorite moments. I don't know. There's too many to say. Probably if I had to pick one, it would probably be one of the live shows. Yeah, either one of the Odd Camp shows or. In fact, no. I tell you, I can think of one. He says, "I've heard these questions before as well, so I really should have thought of an answer, but never mind." Yeah, the first, the Odd Camp we did in Farnham, down in the south of England there,
where we walked. The second one, was it? Yeah.
No, third, I think.
Third one, yeah.
Yeah, it was 2011. It was the Odd Camp in 2011 in Farnham, and we walked onto that stage, and I asked them to play. I asked Andy to play the Beastie Boys as we walked on, and that was awesome. That was so cool. And then doing that show in front of what was a really nice theatre, basically, and there was a lot of people there, and it was fun. And also watching Popey run up and down those stairs with the prizes. That's probably my answer, I think. So I'm going to stick with that. NY Bill has just turned up as well. Wow, and Windigo.
Everybody's here now.
Yeah, and I saw Hairy Monster was there before, and anyway, I don't want to go through reading everyone's name. I'll do that in a bit because people will go, "You didn't mention me," so I'll read out the AIC in a minute. It'd be funny because a lot of them would probably be just idled in the channel. I won't even know we've done it. Anyway, so all right, final. We've got one more question from Les, I think. So that was when we had one from Tony.
Oh, when Tony was first, right? Yeah.
Tony was first, so we've got one from Les, I think, but I don't know what the gap is between this. So let's see. I'm just press play.
Surprise us.
It should come on any second, I presume. The expectation. Come on, Les. Don't keep us
Hi, guys, it's Les. Over the years, you've interviewed many different people, but rather than ask who your best interview was, what was your worst interview and why?
What was
the worst interview and why? I've got an answer to this. And actually, it's not. It's a bit of a strange answer.
Oh yes, the worst was Alison Randall.
Exactly. There you go. That's what I was going to say. And before anybody goes off to tell her that we hate her or anything, it's not because the interview wasn't good. The interview was fantastic, and she's really cool. And I've met Alison many times. She's really cool, and she's really interesting and funny and stuff. It was because I lost the audio, so we did the whole interview twice, and it was over an hour each time. It was like an hour and a half or something stupid. And then I had to email her and say, we need to redo that interview because I've lost it.
And she was amazing. Like, she did the whole thing again.
Yeah, she was. I mean, yeah, she did the whole thing again. Yeah, which was cool. And I felt really bad about that because she just had a car accident as well. And we were like, we were kind of having to do it all again. So that would be not because the interview wasn't good, but just because of my kind of managing to lose the file, I suppose. Are you going for the same answer?
Yeah, I can't. Were there any
No, I can't think of any particularly bad interview. I'm trying to think of somebody that I tried to ask questions of who didn't answer, and I can't really think of anyone who did that with me anyway.
Well, there's one that never happened. We once very early in the show, the time when we were back when I was a huge Ubuntu fan, but I once asked Mark Shuttleworth. For an interview, but he was busy. Or he didn't want to come on the show.
Probably, yeah. I'm not surprised. Looking back now, I'm not surprised, to be honest. But there was a few. I mean, some people asked why Richard Stallman was never on, and that was because
that is a very, very easy answer because I was not ready to rename the show, and it is called Linux Outlaws and not GNU/Linux Outlaws.
Linux. Yeah.
I think I had the plan once because there's that voice in Festival called RMS, which I don't think has anything to do with him, but it does sound a little bit like him. And I think we once floated the idea of just having like a fake interview for like April.
Oh, we did, didn't we? Yeah, that's right.
Festival.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I mean, we can say this because I know you won't mind, but Bradley does, because he worked with RMS. He's worked with Richard. Really good friends with Richard, and he knows him very well. And he does a really good impression of RMS. And he once said he might come on as he would come on as fake RMS, and we could talk to him as fake RMS. But then he was worried because obviously he's friends with RMS, and he thought, well, if he'd know, RMS would know it was him probably, and it might not be good. So that was one that didn't happen, unfortunately. I can't think of any others that maybe. I mean, Linus Torvalds was never going to happen really, but we got Greg Coe-Hartman, Ted Cho. Actually, I never got to speak. I spoke to Ted Cho loads, but I didn't actually get to. Record an interview with him, which was a shame. That would have been good, I think. All right. So
I have a question from the IC's broken. Henry Spro something.
Henry Sprague.
Right. I can't. My eyes. No, it's actually not the IC's broken. It's my theme in IRSSI. It only shows that many characters.
It's your eyes, man. It's your eyes.
Yeah. It's anyway. He asks most enjoyable rant for me. I don't know. They were all kind of fun. Rants are weird because I obviously kind of like doing them. Otherwise, I wouldn't do them. But they get me like really worked up, and obviously, I do feel negative. While I do it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a rant. But on the other hand, it's also fun. I don't know. There were some really good ones. Like in the middle of the show, I got really worked up over stuff, like desktop environments and buttons. I think I did a pretty good rant on the moving the whole buttons. That was interesting.
I remember that. Yeah, that was a big one. I'm trying to think if I can remember any particularly big rants. I don't think so.
Blends into each other. I mean, what I think of mostly of the show is basically, it was all good. I mean, not that it was all good, but like recording it was always fun for me.
It is always fun, yeah. I mean, I'm amazed at the amount of. Sorry, I'm a little. This is bad. I'm distracted because I'm watching all these people that I haven't.
Yeah, me too. I was in the same place. Yeah.
Yeah, popping up on IRC. We've got a little bit. We've got to finish this audio. There's a bit more yet to play from Les and the guys. So let me finish that, and then we'll get onto some more questions. Again, I don't know how long the gap is on this, so I'm going to keep talking until magically the voices reappear. Okay. Any minute now.
As we mentioned earlier, you influenced us to take on the mantle of producing a Linux podcast, which was the Full Circle podcast. We ourselves are moving on, though, to pastures new and creating a new podcast, the Linux podcast, which will take a look at the open source community as a whole. It will feature us, the Full Circle team, me, Les, Tony, and John Archer from the Fedora podcast. We look forward to speaking to you soon.
They're advertising their new podcast, the bastards.
Good on them. Yeah, I spoke to Les about this recently, and obviously it's not secret because they've sent us that audio, but they're, the Full Circle podcast is being kind of, or they're not doing it anymore, and they're going to do a new podcast. And Les told me the domain name they've got is the Linux Podcast.
That's pretty cool.
And I thought, how the hell has nobody used the linuxpodcast.com?
Well, the problem with that name, it's so generic that you need to get big for people to find you. Because I think if you put that into Google now, it'll pretty hard, to find that. But it's a really cool name. And I think that it's good that they're doing that about Linux. I mean, that's one thing people have asked us over the last few weeks, like what's the thing you think the Linux podcasting community will use, and something I've been thinking about is that there actually aren't that many, like, Linux Outlaws called Linux Outlaws because I always wanted to be a Linux podcast. Not as in the kernel, but as in like all distributions and stuff that runs on Linux. and be kind of distro agnostic. I mean, even though we like distros, I used to be a big Ubuntu fanboy, and then I used to
Fedora for a while. You were a big
Fedora
Fedora
fanboy and stuff like that. But on the whole, I always try to be open, or we both try to, I think, with the stuff we talked about, to all of Linux, and I think that's rare. There's lots of Ubuntu podcasts, and there's Fedora podcasts, and there's Mint podcasts, but I do like Linux podcasts, as in, I think the Linux podcast is pretty cool, and also Linux Luddites.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that in a bit. So about podcasts and so on.
Who was it? Oh yeah, Lau Roman says, "What about Gema?" I think the Gema rant was pretty good. One fun thing about Gema, I think the most I ever pissed off people, although they weren't listeners, I don't think our listeners were pissed off, but like for that one April Fools, I put a video on YouTube, which basically what I did is I recorded 10 minutes because you can't upload a picture to YouTube. So I got the Gema warning. So you can't watch this video in Germany.
In Germany, yeah.
But they had generic ones. They had a generic one for like, you can't watch this video. It's not available because of GEMA. And so I took the PNG and made a video out of it for 10 minutes. It's like the most waste of bandwidth ever because it's just one picture. But when you start playing it, because people don't notice the player playing the video, they actually thought it was an actual GEMA warning. And then I was really evil. I searched for a Linus Torvalds interview and stole on YouTube. You know how you can like get out of YouTube the preview image, the still image. I stole that and stuck that on ours, and then made the like exclusive Links Outlaws video, I called it, and like put some text in the thing and put it on YouTube and linked it everywhere. And I swear to God, people still find this video now.
Wow.
And get pissed off at it. They're like, this is not a Linus Torvalds interview, you bastard.
Wow.
The people that were really confused because they were in the UK or the US, and they were like, why do I get a GEMA warning? And I was just laughing my ass off. That was so funny.
You almost trolled the whole internet there.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good. We got lots of questions in IRC as well, but I'm going to mention quickly, we got another one in, this was via email, from Joe Ressington from Linux Luddites, funny enough.
I believe he was drunk while you sent this.
He says so. He said he was drunk. He said you can skip this because he's drunk. But basically, I think what I'll do is I'll just summarize the question a little bit, because kind of basically what he's saying is, do you think if you'd done things differently, the show would still be going into 2015 and beyond? And he says, what I mean is that obviously you had lost the passion for it, which has ironically been reignited in these last few shows. He may be right there. He said,
yeah.
So I was just going to finish summarizing the question. So basically, what he was saying was, if we'd done things differently, would the show have carried on, into next year and beyond? And then he also says, you talk about wanting to change the show and the, all the format and the different
workflow,
stuff. Yeah. So basically, what he's saying is, why not just call it Linux Outlaws and carry on and just get other people in and do what we want?
Yeah,
do a different show.
The name.
Yeah, so he says you were killing off the yellow brand for no reason when you planning to come back with a show that's a new show in future that features me and you. So he's basically saying, why not just you do it as Linux Outlaws 2.0 in 2015? So I don't know. That's the question. If you want to answer.
I think I don't think the passion has been reignited. The what we do right now. I think I can speak for both of us. We've never lost the passion for it. I mean, this is the fun part.
Doing the show,
recording the show. The problem is all the pre and post production. Now, we could have changed all that and just kept doing a Linux Outlaws, a Linux show, and just not done the news. But I personally didn't feel like that, and I kind of think sometimes you just need to. Yeah, sometimes you just need to kill off the brand. I mean, this is not like Star Wars, where like you sell off the brand and then somebody turns it into a completely fucking travesty with like cross-hill lightsabers and fucking rolling robots. And
I'm just wondering if like Disney would buy our Linux Outlaws brand. Do you think? If like Disney's Linux Outlaws, can you imagine it? They'll get JJ, and we mentioned last time that JJ's on a mission to reboot everything. He might just buy Linux Outlaws and reboot it.
Well, we'll do that. I'll do that to the email address. I mean, we talked about this. I will do this. I will actually do that tomorrow or something. Put a automatic responder on the email address saying this is regional Outlaws. This is
JJ Abrams. Yeah. That'll make more sense when you've heard the next.
Anyway, I just
whatever.
Felt like that, and I don't think we're doing a new show, but it's not going to be a Linux show. We're going to talk about Linux because we use Linux, but it's not going to be a Linux show.
Well, my feeling was there might be shows where we don't ever talk about Linux at all in episodes. I mean, so we can't call it Linux Outlaws because it's really not going to be the same thing in any way.
But it would be taking the piss a bit. I mean, we were doing that with like World Cup Outlaws and stuff like that as a joke, but like to do that,
that's true.
Really do that would to me feel like taking the piss, and I don't think like that's what I mean. I don't think we're killing the brand for no reason. I think there is a reason, which is I want to do a completely different show, and I want to really mix it up. So sometimes, as a Dharma says, sometimes you gotta roll a hard 6. I think X1101 in the IC, just one quick interjection, said he really liked can you remember the GNU/Dan and FAS? April Fools, that was great. We pretended to be like fucking free software nutters.
Yeah,
and Bradley said he really liked that as well, I think.
He did, yeah. That was, I think I did the RMS style voice the whole time. I think that's my answer anyway. But that was why it sounds like the same as your answer, is that it's really not going to be the same show at all. And I don't know. I imagine if people are looking for a Linux podcast, then they want something that's actually got some Linux content in it. I mean, not to say that we won't have some Linux content, but it's not. It's really it's a whole different thing.
I really also want to have a new show. I want to get like new, fresh listeners. Maybe. I mean, I think. I mean, it's a risk. It could completely fail, but I think that would be fun. And I think it's from that perspective, it's kind of both the best of both worlds, because the people who listen to the show because they want to hear us talk, I mean, they can still listen to that show. It's no, it doesn't matter what it's called.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I mean,
we'll talk about that later. At the end of the show, we'll give you a little bit of a
that's
hint
true
of what we're doing next.
One thing I would say actually is, obviously, I think he makes a good point there. If we were trying to, maximize listenership and whatever else, it would make sense totally to work to build on the Linux Outlaws name that we've kind of spent 7 years building. But at the same time, I mean, we've talked about this before, but when we started the show, we didn't really expect anyone to listen to it, and we certainly didn't expect people who make open source and free software and stuff to listen to it. That was the big shock for me when we started getting emails from people that we talked about. I mean, it's like we never thought they'd hear it. And people send us emails that we'd mentioned or talked about in the news stories and stuff. So, from that kind of reason, I don't think we ever really did it with a plan to make a lot of. Well, we certainly didn't plan to make a lot of money out of it, which is good because we didn't. But I mean, to make you get loads of listeners and stuff. So, I mean, I don't really mind if we lose. It'd be if we get a different listenership and it's smaller and it's a different thing. That's cool. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'm not in it for numbers particularly.
No, I mean, me neither. And I think as for the money, I'm pretty sure if I look over the whole time the show was on the air, we kind of lost money on this with all the servers and stuff. Although I was running other stuff on the server, so I wouldn't be complaining. It was kind of a hobby to run the servers as well, but I'm pretty sure we lost.
Well, to quote Monty Python, there we go. To quote Monty Python, which is always good. What was he saying? Always look on the bright side of life. He's like, you come from nothing, you go back to nothing. What have you lost? Nothing. So there you go.
We're Spicky says, the April Fools when we pretended I joined Ubuntu.
Oh yeah. That was good. Yeah, that was good. That was Popey. Popey deserves some credit for that. Thank you to Joe for the question. Anyway, thanks to Joe Ressington, and I hope we kind of answered it. All right, and so actually, this leads us in. This leads quite well, actually, because the next question is from Toby Newman, who asked us if we could give a rundown of what other Linux podcasts we think are good and people should listen to, and maybe just other podcasts in general, I suppose. So that fits in well because we mentioned Linux Luddites, and we've already played audio from Les and Ollie and Tony from the Linux podcast, as they call it now.
Linux podcast. If that isn't their intro, I'll be disappointed. It has
2015. Sorry, I was going to say they need a trailer. They need coming in 2015. There was a podcast, a Linux podcast called the Linux Podcast. It was about Linux, and it was a podcast. Something like that. I don't know.
Totally.
So there you go, guys. You can have that. And also we mentioned Linux Luddites. So Joe is one of the Linux Luddites as well, Joe Essington. This is dangerous because I'm conscious that if we don't mention all the podcasts that other people do, they'll think we're dissing them in some way. But just selections that I can think of. Anyway.
I like to be honest, and I'm just going to say, the shows I listen to. And they've gone down. Yeah. Especially since my commute. Well, right now I'm commuting again because it's winter and I can't ride on the bike. But the numbers gone down. I mean, the show Dan and me both like Hollywood Babylon.
Yes.
Dan kind of got me into the whole Kevin Smith podcasting thing. I tried to listen to Smodcast. Well, I listened to it for a while, but I much prefer Hollywood Babylon.
Yeah, it's a totally different show.
Ralph Garman is just great. I am.
Really Ralph Garman, the one of the hosts of Hollywood Babylon. He's awesome. And I mean, I listen to, you mentioned Smodcast, that's another Kevin Smith show. I listen to that. These are non-Linux ones so far. But I can actually give you, I've got about 20 feeds that I actually keep up with in terms of podcasts. And actually getting the Chromecast, I mentioned it before, but that's actually made it easier for me to just, because I can press a button and send, the podcast from, because Beyond Pod's got Chromecast built in. I can just press a button and it starts playing on the big speakers wherever, and I can listen to it as I'm walking around the flat and stuff. Not that I couldn't listen to it on the little speaker or on headphones or whatever, but it's just nice to be able to press a button and go, oh yeah, I'll just send that over there, and it goes onto the speakers. It makes you feel like Tony Stark or something. You can go, Jarvis, I need those speakers. Anyway, so that's cool. So and all the Smodcast stuff, basically, I listen to a lot of that. In terms of Linux podcasts, what I can actually tell you that
Bobo Bex is in the IRC.
Oh yeah, hello. I'm waving. I don't know if she's watching.
Phenomena's in there too. Anyway, yes.
Linux podcasts. I'm just looking at my Beyond Pod list now. So Linux podcasts. I listen to, and this is purely personal selection. The Ubuntu podcast. They've called it now. It used to be Ubuntu UK. I think they've changed the name to Ubuntu podcast. That's what comes up on the feed anyway. So we've got them. Obviously, you can search for them. And you can still search for Ubuntu UK podcast as well. And I did see Mark Johnson popping up and down in the IRC a minute ago somewhere. So he's one of the hosts. He also, for 6 years now, something like that, organised Odd Camp with them as well, with Tony and Laura and Popey, and before that Davey and Simon and all the other people. So that's been really cool. And obviously Mark was heavily involved this year as kind of the main organiser. So that's been cool. So check them out. Also, I think, I don't know, maybe
I also listen to Faith.
Yeah,
which has Bradley Kuhn on it, and Dan edits it.
Yeah, and the producer on that one, yeah. That's got the best production ever, that one.
I also listen to Rat Hole Radio, which Dan...
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah, that's a music show that I do. Rat Hole Radio, you can find that. There you go. Mark's posted the link there in the chat room in the IRC. Podcast.ubuntu-uk.org. Linux Luddites, we've mentioned, obviously, keep an eye out for the Linux podcast, which the guys are going to come out with. But there's things like Go in Linux, for example, is really good for beginners if you want to learn about a topic. They actually explain shit. Like, we never explain shit on the show, partly because we didn't know half of what we were doing, and we never claimed to be experts, but also because it was never a tutorial instructional podcast, but there are some great ones for that. I don't know, it's going back a while now, but Chess Griffin used to do Linux Reality.
We can't really mention that. That's been
it's probably too old.
That doesn't even have an RSS feed anymore.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's dead. Go in Linux is really good for that kind of stuff. So if you're looking for an instructional thing, and actually one of the ones I would really recommend is the Linux Voice podcast, the guys who do the magazine. They do a
Right,
podcast,
yes.
and they're really good at, obviously, because they're professional Linux journalists. They obviously keep up on the news and stuff, and they while they don't like kind of release very often, to keep our breaking news stories and stuff, they do discuss in really interesting
They are pretty
depth.
good on the news, I have to say. Also, Linux Luddites is surprisingly good on the news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So people are talking about LV as well, Linux.
Do you
Linux
want me
Voice.
to mention some other podcasts, not Linux related, that I listen to? Also, the podcast I listen to most recently is probably the Crate and Crowbar, which is from the guys that used to do the PC Gamer podcast. A lot of them used to work for PC Gamer. Now they are freelance, work for Rock Paper Shotgun, stuff like that. One of them actually has a really good game on Steam called Gunpoint. Then there's Chris Thurston, who's just awesome. It's a really good podcast. It's my favorite gaming podcast. I also listen to 3 Moves Ahead, which is a strategy gaming podcast. They do all kinds of strategy gaming stuff from turn-based up to like grand strategy, like Europa Universalis. I really like that. And then I also listen to the ICs, the Independent Characters, which is a Warhammer 40k podcast. And I met the guy who's doing it, Carl. He's the main host. Well, he's a co-host, but he started the show. And I met him in Nottingham this year. Really nice guy, very American. He's got this American thing going on. You're in a group of people, and you know who the American is because he talks 3 times as loud as anybody else.
That's interesting. Yeah, okay. Because you can talk pretty loud. I know that.
People. Right, you do a few. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, people are asking in the IC about Hacker Public Radio, HPR. Obviously, they've been to a lot of our OggCamp events, not our specifically OggCamp events, but they've been to OggCamp a number of times, and they've interviewed us, and they've always done loads of stuff, which is cool. And George and Core Nominal was helping out this year, and we had NY Bill's been over and run stuff in the past. Ken Fallon came over and all that kind of stuff. But I've got to be honest, I don't keep up with Hacker Public Radio because I just don't have time to keep up on it. But I do think it's a good show.
I tend to find episodes that people talk about, like on Twitter and stuff, and then listen to them individually. Because otherwise it's just too much stuff.
But it is great. It is great.
I also listen to No Agenda. Which I can't recommend per se because it's a very acquired taste. It could drive you insane. You have to be really tolerant because they talk about stuff that's really off the wall, and they also talk about stuff they don't know anything about. But in a different style than us, like we never pretended to, sometimes they talk about stuff and they talk about it as if they know. But then if you actually know the topic, they're just talking shit. But you kind of have to, I can accept that. They also have some really good analysis and some really off-the-wall stuff that I've picked up on that show that like the mainstream news kind of picked up on 2 years later. Like they talk a lot of politics and stuff, which is why I really like them as, that I like kind of, it's... they're the only real political show I listen to. It's mostly because all the other political shows are like from radio stations. And I have this thing. I don't listen to like these professional podcasts like from radio stations because to me they're not like real podcasts. I mean, they're podcasts in a technical sense, but like if I wanted that, I would just listen to the radio, right? They do what they do on the radio, just in a different medium. And if you don't have a car or whatever, and if you want to listen to the radio and you can't, and you want to get the content, that's fine. I get that. And it's different with stuff like Radiolab or something like that, where it's like...
Well, I was just going to say, I like a lot of the NPR stuff.
Right.
So Radiolab, Freakonomics Radio, those kind of things that are from radio stations.
With NPR, I have the same problem. My problem is with political stuff. You just tend to get the normal political analysis that you get in mainstream news. And I don't want that. That is kind of like too. I find that too stupid. Like that's not what I want. I want to be like challenged. And I want to hear about stuff that you don't hear about. Like, if No Agenda comes out with like this really off the wall theory about like MH370 or whatever, right? It might be completely bollocks, but at least it's stuff you haven't heard about or you haven't thought about, and then it gets me thinking. And I really like that. Plus, they do run a kind of a cool show, and they're very like the thing. I mean, Adam is an American, but he's not really an American. I think he's lived too long in the Netherlands.
He lived in Holland, didn't he? Yeah, Netherlands.
Really be an American in spirit, even though he tries to. I think he wants to be very American. And he lives in Texas, so what the fuck? But they're not very American. I'm like John C. Dvorak, for example, has always surprised me in how European lots of his views are, and I mean that in a good way. Like, that's why I like him on Twitch. He's like, when there's a twit and John C. Dvorak's on, it's kind of like you have the Silicon Valley angle, and maybe they have one guy from New York, and then you have John C. Dvorak, and often the stuff he says, is to me like what I would have said, or what like I think a British guy in his position would have said, which I find really refreshing. Anyway, I'll let you go on.
No, I know what you mean. I mean, I'm actually following the IRC. I was just had a thought while I'm watching all these loads of people in IRC are suggesting like different podcasts and stuff, and I know we had a thread on the saloon, on the sixgun.org saloon, where people were posting what podcasts they listen to. But I'm just thinking maybe we should have a list on there or a thread where people can post, because people are saying, "Oh, I need to make a list of these names."
Go
or whatever.
On the saloon.
I would suggest, if you're not a member, go to saloon.sixgun.org. That's not going to go anywhere. It's still, still running, and obviously that's where you can talk to people. It's a discourse forum. That's the name.
We won't shut that down. Like, once we do a new show, it'll move there as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you can use that to post stuff as well. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, well, I'd like to know some of these names they've mentioned, and there may be probably loads of others from listeners who are way more informed about this, then go to saloon.sixgun.org, and we'll put a thread on there, or somebody will put a thread on there. Somebody mentioned in the RC something which I haven't mentioned yet, which I really should have done, is Floss Weekly from Twit. Yes. That's their free Libre open source software. That's why it's called Floss. That's the open source free software show that they do on there, of which I should have mentioned because I occasionally I'm a guest host on it. And check that out as well. Twit.tv. I've got to be honest. I mean, I hope I'm not going to upset a load of people now, but I mean at Twit. But I don't listen to any of the Twit shows. I'll be honest. I did at one time listen to Twit itself, and I listened to, I think, Net at Night and some other things. But these days,
quite a long time. But I got
these days I don't really listen to anything off Twitch, so that's probably really bad of me to say, but I've got to be honest.
It's the same for me. I mean, I used to Security Now was the second podcast I ever listened to, even before Twit. But, like, I can't anymore. Like, I write about these news like a week before the bloody podcast comes out, and by the time that comes around, I don't want to like.
Yeah, it's tricky. Okay, I'm going to quickly run down a list of ones that I haven't mentioned yet.
Well, I've got two more shows, and then I'll let you cap it off. I've got Rum Doings.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a very interesting off-the-wall show done by John Walker, who runs Rock Paper Shotgun, which is a gaming site. But they don't talk about gaming so much. It's more about general UK stuff. And he does it. His co-host is the guy who runs his internet company, like his internet service provider. And they're just friends, and they just talk about stuff, and they occasionally drink rum. That is a really good show. Really like that. Occasionally really funny. And then if you want really funny, I can recommend The Bugle.
Oh, yeah, I've listened to some of that. That's good. Yeah.
The Bugle is by John Oliver, who you might know from his own show now, and he used to do the Daily Show? He did it for like a summer. Was it the Daily Show? What's it?
No, the Daily Show is Jon Stewart.
It's Stewart.
Is that the one? Jon Stewart. Yeah.
He hosted it for like a month when Stewart was on a holiday. And he does that together with some really, really mad guy who's a lot into cricket. He's like a stand-up comedian, Andy Zaltzman, which I'd never heard of before. but he's really mad.
Okay, that is good. I've listened to
cricket, and it's a very funny show. It's very off the wall.
I like that. I do like that. All right, so is that 2? Have you mentioned 2? Yeah, yeah. Rum Doings and that was right.
Yeah, Rum Doings. I'm just looking up. I completely forgotten. It's John Walker. What's the other guy's name? Bloody for fuck's sake. Anyway, I'll find this.
All right, okay. While you're doing that, I'll mention it. So I've got a bit of a list to mention. So in no particular order, just in the order they're coming up. Some of the things people have mentioned in the IRC actually. So the Infinite Monkey Cage, which is what's his name? It's a BBC podcast. It's BBC Radio 4 podcast. It's a science discussion show, and they don't just talk about science. They talk about other things as well. But it's with Professor Brian Cox and Robin Ince are the hosts, and they always have really good guests as well. They have people like Alan Moore on, who is one of my favorite writers of all time, and he's really good. And also lots of other people as well. So it's really worth a listen. Obviously, it's well produced as well, as you'd expect from BBC Radio. It's very well produced. Check that out.
Nick Mailer. Sorry, I could only remember Bocky Dog, which is his Twitter account, and I didn't really want to call him that, but yeah, Nick Mailer.
Okay,
he runs Positive Internet Company or whatever. It's the ISP that runs the server hosting for Rock Paper Shotgun.
Oh, okay, cool.
But they don't talk about gaming much because Nick isn't into gaming at all.
Okay,
so he just gives John shit for like writing about feminism and gaming and stuff like that. It's really funny. Anyway.
Cool. So we got that. I'm very into football. That's what some of you may call soccer. I call football, and I'm very into that. So I listen to one of the Guardian podcasts. The Guardian Football Weekly is one of my favorites. That's actually twice a week, although it's called Guardian Football Weekly. So it's actually on twice a week.
Weird.
Yeah, it's really good though, and they're very funny as well, because they say things that you would never get away with saying on the radio or the TV, like quite offensive things sometimes. But they're very funny as well. And also they're all like professional sports journalists from the Guardian, so they kind of know what they're talking about when it comes to the news, sports news. What else have we got? I mentioned Radio Lab and Freakonomics Radio. Music podcasts. I listen to some music podcasts because you mentioned Rat Hole Radio. I listen to CC Hits, the weekly CC Hits weekly show. cchits.net was written by a friend of ours, John Spriggs, and it's a website where you can vote for songs, and it creates a chart, and all the songs are Creative Commons on the chart, which is why it's called CC Hits. I listen to that. I listen to Rhino the Bearded's show, the Double O show or the OO show. I forget how he says that normally, but his music show. He's got the No Agenda link going on. He does their IRC. Yeah. What else do I listen to? I listen to all kinds of things, music-wise. But mostly I listen to a lot of the Smodcast stuff, as I mentioned. What else have we got here? Comedy. There's nothing in that. I'm sure they've changed the way that.
Ref Beraldo says his girlfriend thinks I look like OP from Sons of Anarchy.
That's awesome, yeah.
You grow my hair a bit, yeah, but I'll take that as a compliment.
I was going to say, Opie's a great character, so yeah, I would definitely take that as a compliment. Freakonomics Radio, we've talked about. What else have we got? Entertainment, here we go. That's Modcast stuff. So I think that's probably all of them. There are bound to be some that I've missed, but basically my week revolves around listening to, in podcast-wise, revolves around listening to Football Weekly a couple of times a week, and then all the Smodcast stuff. And that's it, I nearly forgot. No Such Thing as a Fish is my latest most fun podcast. I've mentioned that before. So it's from the QI people, the people who do the TV show QI, the QI elves, as they call them, the ones who do this fact research. That's very funny, and obviously it's full of like trivia and stuff. So have a listen to that. And I think that's probably enough mention of other podcasts for now. So we've got other questions to get to, I suppose. Unless you want to mention any more, are you going to give anything else?
No, I'm good. I've talked about all of mine, I think.
All right, should we have another audio question then? We've got, let me see. My mic stand keeps getting, we mentioned everything's falling apart tonight. My mic stand keeps like going really loose for some reason. I have to keep tightening it up. Anyway, I think another thing I haven't mentioned on air before is my noise gate. As Fab knows, he's seen it. The one that I have in a rack. It's a noise gate and a limiter and a compressor. It's an old Behringer one. I've had that for 14 years now. And this month, in the last couple of months, it's just started to fail like just fail. It's just old and it's failing. And sometimes the mic doesn't open when it should. And for a while I couldn't work out, and then I removed it.
Problem.
Yeah, so I removed it from the. That was the problem. Yeah, so when I removed it from the, it's actually on at the moment, but it's on a very weak setting, so it's not filtering very much. But that's, for me, was kind of a sign that now that my studio is actually dying, it's probably a sign that I should take a break and rebuild the studio and sort it out. Anyway, so somebody says noise gate as a service in the what's that, NGAS? Noise gate as a service. Anyway. So we've got an audio question from Lost in Bronx, who we haven't heard from in a long time, which is really cool. He did those audio books and stuff. Do you remember when he was doing the audio books? And I can't remember. He had like all those cool voices, like the hey, kind of wise guy kind of voices going on.
We played some of those, yeah.
Yeah, and we played some of them. He sent us an audio question, so I haven't listened to this yet, so I have no idea what it sounds like. But in the spirit of adventure, let's see what this sounds like.
Hey, Dan and Fab, this is Lost in Bronx, and I just wanted to ask if you had any tips or any important points that you'd like to relate to other people that may be thinking about starting a podcast of their own, that you can mention that, like, whatever you do, don't do this because, you know, bad things will happen. You have the benefit of a lot of experience at this stage of the game, and I was wondering if there are any things people just should avoid that maybe weren't so obvious when you first started and you had to learn the hard way. So that's my one question, and I did want to say thank you so much for everything you guys have done. You've provided me hours and hours of information and entertainment over the years and made me feel like anybody, even somebody who's technically challenged like myself, can find a place. They can have a place, you know, in this group and in this community. And a lot of that I think I owe to you guys. So best of luck with, you know, whatever else you're going to do in the future. And we'll see you around.
Cool.
Oh, that was cool.
Well, one
Thanks.
thing is get a noise gate that works now. One thing I want to say, which is obvious, and it is obvious, and you think it's obvious, and you think you shouldn't say this, but make sure it's recording.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. My advice would be
of podcasting. Also, you know, we started using like just the hardware. I mean, we use Zooms, but you can get cheaper ones. I think going to a hardware recorder was probably the best thing I did with this studio, because it just records it. You know, it's the most important thing that you're recording, and it takes away so much hassle. Like the worst thing, this has backup battery, so I could even pull the power. And even if the worst thing this does, if it dies, is it just stops exactly where it did when the power died.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, because it constantly writes to the card, so whatever you've recorded is still on there, even if the power dies.
I actually had this happen once, and then we just, you know, got power back, restarted the studio. I mean, we did you might remember this then, and then you know, we had the stuff. Well, don't knock your pop sheet. That's another advice. Anyway, that is great. Whereas the computer you're recording to, if it dies, it's all gone.
That is a really big problem. I mean, he said anything you didn't expect, but to be honest, that's pretty obvious. I think even at the start, we knew that if we hadn't recorded it, that was probably bad. That was bad for the.
Then I thought, maybe this recording it in Audacity on a laptop, so it's a pretty good idea. And then that died for the first time, like in the middle of the show, and that wasn't a good feeling.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I mean, so a basic advice, and this is obvious, everybody. We've said this before, I think. Get yourself record in a quiet area. I tell that people. I mean, that's funny with me, like, you know, ice cream van going past.
We haven't mentioned TLLTS. No, that you're at that point.
Yeah.
The Linux
yeah, that's true. I mean, we as I mentioned, like, you know, as quiet a kind of area as you can, pretty much. Right. People who are watching the video will see I have this is like temporary soundproof, and I'm just hitting it so people can hear. Hello? Yeah. So my neighbours will be wondering what the fuck's going on now, like answering the door. So yeah, I insulated the window. It's temporary. I take it in and out, like, but I did that. And you know, you get yourself a decent microphone. They don't have to be expensive. You can spend £40 or £50 on something like a Behringer B1 or one of those common mics, and it will sound a lot better than something like a phone mic or any of the inbuilt mics.
Headset mic, God
or a headset mic, yeah. Yeah, that's true. And then get yourself a hardware recorder as well, because in the scheme of things, I mean, I'm just holding mine up so people can see on the video. This is an old Zoom H4, not the H4n, the original H4. I bought this off eBay for £100 about 5 years ago, or actually maybe more than 5 years. No, I think it was about 5 years ago. And since then, I've used it for recording almost every podcast, not just Rat Hole Radio. Sorry, not just Linux Outlaws, also Rat Hole Radio, other things as well.
Stuff when you're on the road, you can.
I was going to say I've used
microphones.
it for. Yeah, I use it for recording the band as well in rehearsal room when we're just getting, recording a rehearsal or something, and we want to get some, basic audio. I've used it for that. It's incredible. It's the best £100 I've ever spent in my life. And if you buy a new one, a H4n, they're about £200 or maybe $250 at the most, which I know, is not an inconsiderable amount of money. But I think when you think of what people spend on, golf clubs and holidays and other shit, it's not that much really. Or games consoles, it's not even the price of like a PlayStation 4 or something. So if you're going to be a serious podcaster, my suggestion would be get a H4 or H4n now actually, because the H4 has been discontinued. Brilliant bit of kit as well. A lot of people use the H2 as well.
I would also say use what works. Like editing wise, I always used Audacity, and then people were saying, well, Ardour is kind of like really powerful and stuff, and I tried to use Ardour to edit the
show. Was that Tony Tony Whitmore?
He
used to edit in Ardour. He was one of the only people I knew who ever edited audio.
It kind of makes sense the way people talked about that, but it just wouldn't gel with me. Like, and I think it's, in hindsight, yes, it's a DAW. I don't know why you would use it in digital audio workstation. When you use that to like edit a podcast, like the cool thing about Audacity is, and it has its problems, but it's just a fucking wave editor, and that's kind of what I needed, what I think I needed. And so, like, I could have dispensed with all of that. Trying use what works. Like, we always try to, as much as we could, do this on Linux and use open source software and stuff. But the recorders, as Bradley would point out, is it's proprietary software, whatever. It's like don't make it too hard for yourself, because the one thing about a podcast that people will tell you, but which you won't, like, you might think about this, but you will never know how hard it really is to just keep the bloody show going. Like, to have this bump at like 20 episodes or whatever, to keep it going. And I'm still amazed we kept LO going. I mean, that took a hell of a lot of energy on both of our parts, I think, to just flowing on. And the easier you can make it for you, like the easier your setup is, and you record and whatever, the easier that is, the easier it will be to keep the show going. If you, on top of like having to record the show and schedule with hosts and guests and whatever you're doing, if on top of that you're fighting with your hardware or your software, then your chances to keep going are pretty small, I think.
Yeah, and actually that's a good point, because I would suggest, we've learned this over the years. It seems obvious, but obviously the show wasn't live; it wasn't broadcast as such for a long time. So it was just us talking over Skype or whatever it might have been, and recording the audio, and then we'd cut all the music in afterwards, which is great, and it allows you, a lot of flexibility. But actually, it takes so much time. It used to take about 5 or 6 hours or more for me to edit a 2-hour show, 1.5, 2-hour show, and it's like most of a day is gone, like a working day anyway. Most of it would be spent in editing one show, and since we went to playing the music as we record and other things like that, it just makes it so much easier. It makes life so much easier. You wouldn't think it would make that much of a difference to stop and just go, I'll just shove the music in and that, but it really does add to the amount of time. So I would say that as well. Think about, if you're worried about the length of time it's going to take you to produce stuff, then think about playing stuff like audio in as you record, and music, in as you record, and so on, because that's really helpful as well. Anyway, I think that's probably all I can manage on that question.
One more thing, if you do this like us and you get a mixer, get a hell of a lot of cables. Get more cables than you need, because you will be cabling things, and then you will be short one cable. And this happened to me so often. And you think there can't possibly be that many cables? Well, there's XLR, there's jack, there's phono, there's mini jack, and then you do have the jack to phono, but it's like the one like the male phono, and you actually need the female phono, or you need the whatever. It's just like you always need twice the cables you think you need.
You do, and you also need twice the time you think it's going to take as well. I would say.
Yep.
That's one thing. I mean, I'm sure people know
as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Well, there's that too, but I'm sure people know this by now. But just in case you don't, in case anybody thinks that it takes like 2 hours a week to produce a 2-hour podcast, it really doesn't. You can times it by 4 or 5 to produce like in terms of finding the stuff you're going to talk about if it's a news show like we've done. Also recording the show, obviously, then the editing, then the releasing, then the show notes and all that shit. It's it takes a long time. So I would say never underestimate how long it'll take to do a show.
And make sure you've got gaffer tape.
Gaffer tape's always good, or duct tape if you're in America. They call it duct tape. I would say I wouldn't want to discourage anyone from trying it. Do it. It's good. Yeah. It's fun, and don't
be afraid. Like, don't overthink it. Like, don't.
Oh fuck yeah.
I mean, just start, and if you keep going and people like it, then you can still upgrade your hardware, whatever. I mean, I did start. I did some experiment with podcasts before, so I had a mixer. Like, actually. This mixer here, my Behringer Xenix 1204 is as old as the show.
Okay.
I think I've changed mics, I've changed inputs, outputs, interfaces, laptops, everything. I think this is the one bit of kit that has seen all of LO. And people were telling me when I bought this, oh, fuck Behringer, it's noisy and whatever. Yeah, I'm not trying to record the next, Darkness on the Edge of Town here. It's a fucking podcast, and I bought this for 120 euros, and this has served me for 7-8 years.
Yeah.
So just start with something. Start with the first mic I bought cost 70 euros. And then at some point I thought, well, I really want a better mic, so I can get a bit more. It doesn't pick up all the noises the desk makes.
It's just time for the ice cream van to go past.
Oh, it wouldn't be an LO without the ice cream van.
Yeah. Some people said, why didn't I get an interview with the guy? Unfortunately, I would say I'll run down and do it now, but I can't. Although it's out of the window behind me. I can't actually get out that way to the road and to where he is, so I have to run around the edge of the building, round the other way and back, and by that time he'd be gone. But never mind. You've had way more mics than I have, in fact.
Well, I'm kind of a mic aficionado.
Yeah, and you've had quite a few different ones, but you don't have to spend a fortune. Would be my, and as you said, upgrade as you go. Soon as you're doing the whole moving your camera thing, I may as well do the same. So you'll see, we're not sponsored by Behringer at any point, but this is a 20. What is it now? It's a Behringer 2442 USB. I'm trying to back out a bit so people can actually see. Let me see if I can turn it the right way up. So you're only getting it the wrong way up, but you can kind of see it's the same kind of desk. It's got the same Behringer design and all that stuff going on. Also, the old desk, I don't know if you can see over there, you can't really see. Kind of. You can kind of see a little bit in the corner past that speaker there, maybe. There's the old desk I'm still going to plug back in at some point. That's the huge desk that I had for the studio.
One with the automatic moving faders.
Yeah, flying faders, motorized faders. My dream is that, well, we're going to talk about this later, so I won't go on about now what we're going to do in the future, but I'll talk about it. Some of it involves that desk. All right, so...
I have a dream.
Yeah. At this point, where are we? We've got...
At this point,
I'm just checking.
We will take a break.
Take a break.
Because I have to go to the toilet.
Oh, right, okay, go on then.
I'm getting old, so entertain people for a minute.
See if you can hear it. See if we can hear it.
This is a dynamic mic. I'm pretty sure we'll pick up. That's one of the upsides of having an expensive microphone.
That's very true. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Chris Bicky. Sorry, I can't get your name right. In the IRC, was saying. I lost a mixer. It says Dan lost one mixer. I did. It died. It's but the weird thing is it died, and now I've resurrected it, but I haven't swapped it back. So you can't really see from here. I wonder if I move this light, whether you'll be able to see properly. I'll try and do this again. So I don't know if you can see down there, propped up against the wall. You can't really see that well. There's like a big black or grey looking square thing there propped up against the wall. That's a 32 channel mixer, a digital 32 channel mixer. It's a Soundcraft digital 328, which is like a really good studio mixer. I mean, it's not like, it's not like Abbey Road standard or anything, but it's pretty good. They're worth about £3,000 new, and it died. Well, the power supply seemed to die on it, which is actually internal. It's a board inside, rather than an external power supply, which a lot of mixers have. So I got rid of, I had to get a replacement, which is why I got the Behringer thing, which you just saw here, which was only about £200 for me. And it's done great. But actually, what happened was my old mixer used to take up, it's huge. Used to take up most of the desk, the actual, the desk space that I had here. And then I realized when I got this the smaller one, that it's actually quite cool to have space for other things on your desk. So I can go like this. You can see I've actually got my laptop on the desk next to the mixer, and like a keyboard over here. That's for another machine. That's what I'm saying. Well, Fab can attest to this because he knows what the old desk was like. I was just saying, I was telling the story of how I had to swap desks and why I did it. But now I haven't swapped back because I'm really loving having space to put stuff down on my desk. It's quite nice. Like you can come in with a drink and just put it down and stuff, which I couldn't do before. So, but that does. I'm gonna, I'll talk about that in a bit. I am gonna resurrect the studio and stuff, as in the music studio, that is. All right, and so. What I was going to say at this point, before you said at this point, I'm going to go to the toilet. We've got about 7 or 8 email questions still to get through. And also, I want to make sure that people in IRC get a chance to ask questions as well. But should we plow through the email ones first, and then we can take as many as we got time for? Okay. So we've got one from Sam who says, "What do you mean it's over? Was it something I said or did? I can change. I can support you more. After everything we've been through, can't we give it one more go? I love you. Doesn't that mean anything? Can we still at least be friends?"
Is it because I'm eating too loud?
Yeah.
No, it's because of your mold farm.
I'm going to go for the classic answers of this one, but that's not the question. So I'll read the rest of his email in a minute. But in answer to your opening questions there, Sam, it's not you, it's us. That's our answer. That's the age-old answer to that. We've changed. We're different people now, and yeah. Anyway, so anyway, he says, "Hi guys, I've enjoyed the show for many years. The two of you have made learning Linux fun and inspired me to get a career in the industry. That's cool. I used to be a Microsoft fanboy. After about 4 years." About 4 years ago, I wanted to see what this Linux thing was about, and I stumbled across your podcast. Wow, was I shocked. It says, "There's such a community around Linux, open source, and even you guys. It's fantastic. I've learned a lot, maybe not always directly from you. That's probably true. But you talk about things even to get me interested in learning."
We're enablers.
Yeah, he says, I hope you both know how much support there is behind you from the community, and we'll keep an eye on you. Oh, that's nice. Whatever the future holds, I say stay free, stay open source. So that's very cool. So there really wasn't a question in there after all, after me saying that. But anyway, there were those questions at the start. So thanks to Sam for that. And we had one from Jeremy Colossa, I think it is.
Yeah.
Interesting name.
I've been listening to the show for a while, for quite some time. I've been following them.
Cool name. He says, "Hello, Linux Outlaws team. Jeremy here. I'm a recent convert to the LO, having discovered it only last year. I found your show immensely enjoyable. Learned new things about the open source community and software as I became a professional web developer working on Ubuntu." He says, I have to send him one email before the show ended. He says, "I love Fab's rants, particularly the ones on nuclear energy, feminism, and the ones about security." And the NSA/Stasi. Therefore, I hope that your next show will be Fabulous Fab's Fabulous Weekly Rants and Dan the Man Lynch. Okay. Well, you did have the Rant of Fab thing, which you probably missed because it didn't short-lived podcast. He says, "I know lots of people do rants on the internet. It's kind of the bread and butter of this space. but Fab does it so well, getting apoplectic while Dan just sits back and a bit apathetic. Yeah, that's true. Bouncing out. We've heard that before. He says, it doesn't matter what the topic would be. I'm sure the rest of the world would enjoy it. Best of luck with your future endeavors. I'm looking forward to the value you'll continue to create for all of us. That's nice. He says, P.S. Dan, although I'm an American, I'm with you. The American sport is properly called gridiron, not football, and soccer is football. He says, my countrymen make me feel ashamed. I don't think we need to go that far.
Gridiron is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, gridiron, yeah.
That's a good name.
It is a good name. It is a good name. All right, so there's a couple more audio ones to do as well. I'll tell you what, I'm going to read the next one, and then we've got an audio one as well. So we had one from, this is interesting, this was from Aaron Hamid. He says, Dear Dan and Fab, if this message reaches you, then our plan has been set in motion.
God.
I can now reveal why you were previously instructed to discontinue Linux Outlaws. We are contacting you from the year 2030. Within 10 years of 2014, an NSA plot to control all proprietary operating systems will have come to fruition, coupled with state takeovers of major internet companies under the guise of emergency war powers, he's putting quotes, and pervasive deployment of robotic/drone armies. Only ragtag remnants of hackers and free culture warriors will be left to save humanity. It's very Terminator, this. Having established your Linux Outlaw credentials, you are the only hope to rally them to the cause. You must keep alert for further instructions. Fellow travelers have been sent back to guide your path. So this is very much Terminator. Put on your shutter shades and pop your trench coat collars. He says, best of luck. The future needs you/us. He says, Dan Lynch, Minister of Mind, Funk, and Voice Impressions. That's quite nice. I like that. Fabian Churchill, Director of Counterintelligence and Spirits Certification. He says, December the 13th, 2030, from Internet Free Europe. He says, P.S. We have disguised these communications as one of your many inconspicuous fan letters. That's very cool.
That's cool. Now we need fan fiction.
That is very cool. So thank you.
You want to live.
Come with me. I need your boots and your, what's the other bit? I can't remember.
Jacket and your motorcycle.
And your motorcycle, yeah. Anyway, so let's have some audio. Stephen Michael Kellett, who's one of our frequent correspondents as well, or has been over the years, he sent us some audio, so let's have a listen to Stephen's audio. Let me turn the fader up on this before we play.
That helps.
There we go. That would help.
Well, Dan and Fab, it's been a great 7 years. Seems like it's been the past year for when podcasts do seem to die out as people move on to new projects. Thank you for a great ride, and let's hope we see some new and interesting projects coming up very soon. 73's from Eerie Looking Productions. This is Stephen Michael Kellett, signing off.
That's an emergency broadcasting system.
I think it is, yeah. Well, I'm interested. He's actually, that's really cool. Thank you, Stephen, for that. He's actually like built up an audio radio play thing with sound effects in the background. Also, very professional sound in there. He's like signing off.
I wonder if that. He does podcasts. He does. It works. I wonder if that breaks something if you play that in the US, like the sound, and then like I don't know.
Oh, maybe, yeah. That's true, maybe.
To trigger something. Emergency response.
Yeah, that's true. People are saying there's not enough questions on this AMA. You're right, actually. Yeah, most of these aren't questions, it looks like. But anyway, let's press on. We need to get through those anyway. So where are we? So thank you, Stephen, for that. That was very cool. I'm going to jump over. This is the point where I jump over to my actual Thunderbird
This is the dark emails that Fab has.
These are the dark emails, yeah. Actually, we've got one from 5150. He does Packer Public Radio as well. He says, you're very welcome to join the HPR New Year podcast. I've done that in the past, join there. I don't know if I'll make it this year, but you never know. So he sent us some audio as well. So let's have a listen to this. This is the audio from 5150. Here we go.
Hey, Dan and Fab. This is 5150. I just want to thank the two of you for all of the laughs, news, and music over the last 7 years, and say that I really look forward to seeing what the two of you do next. My suggestion in the saloon that you each go do a physically improbable act, notwithstanding. Cheers, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Cool. That's nice. Again, not a question. But thank you very much. Yeah, sorry, I'm just saying to people in the IC.
This is a TMA. No, TUA. Tell us anything.
Yeah. Tell us anything, yeah. So thanks to 5150 for that. All right, back to the emails. There is one titled. I'm going to go for quick. I'm not doing these in any particular order. There's one titled AMA questions. So I'm guessing it's probably got questions in it. It's from Nico. Doesn't give us a name. Not near, yeah. Only as this country do you let blind people drive. Yeah. He says, I'm now thinking of my Russian accent's terrible. I'm thinking of the what's his name, the John Malkovich thing from Hollywood Babylon.
Yeah.
Pay this man his money. Pay him his money. Anyway,
did you, by the way, speaking of GTA, did you see the video? There's a video on YouTube, like opening cars like GTA San Andreas, where like two black dudes dressed in like the proper like whatever gangster outfit like from San Andreas.
Ballers,
and they open doors like on a proper car, like people open the doors in San Andreas. It's amazing.
That's pretty cool. All right, and so we got one from Nico. Yeah, and I don't think it's Nico Bellic. It says, first of all, I want to wish you both the best for the future.
It says, Roman, what you doing?
Titties, cousin. Yeah, the title of this one was Titties, cousin. American titties. Anyway, it says, as it goes with all big rock stars that have been around for some time, you guys decided to take some time off, which is fair enough. So my first question is a question, people. It says, when do you plan to return? There you go. So we were going to talk about that anyway.
Yes, we're going to talk about that in a bit. I wanted to. John Culp says he wanted to send us something.
Oh, right.
Kind of bummed out, which is kind of like. That's very LO style.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, that's cool.
No, he said I'm gonna play one of his things, but I can't because this is when software breaks. But I'm working on it. I'm gonna play one of his musical renditions he sent to us because John Culp is our resident musical
professor. Yeah.
Anyway, waffle a bit.
Okay. Well, we have got questions to answer, so we will talk about that one in a minute. There's more questions in this. It says, I'm mostly asking because I need to probably save all my money for merchandise. Speaking of, where can I get post-LO merchandise?
I wanted to tell people I had a plan for years to get LO merchandise back up. And I still have that plan. I still plan to do this as a like kind of a thing for people who, even if the show's dead.
Yeah, it's one thing that we've struggled with over the years is getting the whole T-shirt and merchandise thing together. It's surprisingly it's more difficult than you think, unless you want to charge like $30 for a T-shirt, in which case you can do that quite easily and get someone to do it for you. Which I don't know, seemed a bit much to me. Like Cafe Press was really expensive, and so a lot of the others.
Try to sort this out. I was going to play the jazz version, but John didn't do that himself, didn't he? He got his
friend, his fellow music professor
to do that. So I'm gonna play this one. This should be John Culp. Not a question either, but fuck it.
Nice though, and beautiful bit of guitar as well. He also did a trumpet version, I seem to remember, and he did all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Are you looking for the trumpet version?
I think I have that. Here we go.
Yay! I like that.
That is nice.
Yeah, very nice. Thanks to John for that. Anyway, meanwhile, there are some other questions in Nico's email. He says, not about T-shirts. Yeah, he says, so what software did you enjoy most?
That was Trumpet Guy. That wasn't John.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
anyway,
John.
He had it recorded.
Trumpet Guy. Trumpet Guy.
Go Trumpet Guy.
Can we have a #Trumpet Guy hashtag? That would be good. Just randomly put in #trumpet guy, nothing to do with anything you talk about.
I've been randomly doing #drongo.
Oh, have you? Okay.
And #trumpet guy is good as well. I like that.
#trumpet guy. Big thanks to Marshall, who's got to head off. His laptop's dying. Also known as Timmy.
This will be on the feeds.
Oh yeah, it'll be on. So anyway, he says, this is a question from Nico. He says, what was our favourite software package or whatever in the last year, and why?
In the last year?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's a bit of a hard one to say.
I gotta say, probably, like, if we're talking Linux stuff, open source Linux stuff, probably Cool Old Terminal, which has been renamed.
Oh yeah.
What's that been renamed to? Oh God.
And we talked about it as well. We talked about it on the show.
Yeah, but then that was still called Cool Old Terminal. Now it's called Cool Retro Term.
Oh, okay.
It's on GitHub by Swordfish90.
Yeah, I'd say my answer for Linux desktop software anyway would be, I think I mentioned it a while ago, Synapse, which is a search. It's been around for ages. It's not new. It's just I discovered it in the last year. I was really struggling to find some files that were buried somewhere on a laptop. I installed Synapse, and lo and behold, I found it. So go and check that out. We did do that as a recommendation.
Oh yeah, Lau Roman says he's right. Timmy, you know.
Timmy.
Anyway, if we're talking freedom hating, for me it would be Elite Dangerous, which is coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to say freedom hating. It's not quite in the last year, but I would say Grand Theft Auto 5 probably. Yeah. It's a little bit over a year old, but
it's still coming out for Windows. Or that's beginning of next year.
Yeah, that's true. And then one more question. This is a nice one, actually. One more question from Nico. He says, can you recommend to listeners one book that has influenced you?
I would probably say this isn't one book. It's actually 7 books. Mm-hmm. But The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The first book would be The Gunslinger. I would recommend anybody read that. The first book is a hard read, especially if you're not into cowboy kind of stuff, but it is well worth getting through that. And by the time you hit in the third book, you gotta be hooked. It's really good.
I'm gonna my memory's not brilliant when it comes to this, so I've a Rizzler book. They're saying someone D-mail says it's my recommendation, a Rizzler book. No, it's not. It's not Snoop Dogg's smokable book either. Look that up. I was telling you about that last time. That is a Rizzler book, basically. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I'm going to pick one that I read quite recently. It's an old book. It's in a trilogy actually. I just recently read the Barrytown trilogy by Roddy Doyle, which is about Dublin, and it's a fiction set in Dublin. Most people have seen The Commitments, which is one of the books was made into a film about a soul band in Dublin called The Commitments. But there's 3 books in there, and I've also just finished about a month ago, maybe less, reading The Guts, which is the new book he's released. The first time he's used those characters since the 80s. Or late 80s, early 90s. First time he's used any of the characters from those books in a new book. So I got one of those called The Guts, and it's really good. And I would recommend people read that. It's full of kind of dark humor, but very interesting and stuff.
If we're just talking random books we read recently, I would recommend. I very recently finished The Stolen Throne, which is a background novel to Dragon Age, which was published before Dragon Age. The first Dragon Age came out, so like in 2009. It's by a guy called David Gader, who was the main writer on Dragon Age Origins, which I've never read. I knew there were novels, but I kind of never got around to it. And I started reading it not thinking it was going to be very good, because video books that are set in video game universes are often very shit. It is a really good book. It is a really, really good, like, kind of high fantasy kind of book. Like, even if you never played Dragon Age, I think you would probably enjoy this book if you like classical fantasy. If you play Dragon Age, it opens up like it's I can't remember a book to a game that's done this before. I mean, he's the main character writer, so he'd have this, he'd know how that works. Basically, the main antagonist in Dragon Age Origin, which always came across like a sleazebag and like a typical kind of it's Logain is his name, Logain McTeer, who always comes across as like a general, just evil, generic bad guy.
Mm.
If you read this book, it'll put like a whole different twist on your playthrough of Dragon Age. I'm currently playing Dragon Age Origins 2 again, and you suddenly know where he comes from and why he does what he's doing, and you're like, oh shit, he's like at the end. Spoilers. This game's from 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Before you get to the very end, you get the chance to, like, you can either kill him, you can let him go, or he can become your follower. And I've always killed him. Like in every playthrough I did, I killed him because I thought this was like a bad guy. Like he was, and the stuff he does in the game is like, obviously he's the bad guy. Now if you read that book, he's actually a very interesting character, and you know where he's coming from. So I'm playing through right now. When I get to that point, I'm gonna let him live because he's actually a cool guy, and he's got reasons for what he does. I really like that. That's a good book. I'm reading the second one David did. It's called The Calling right now. It's really good.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. I mean, he asked for one book, and I can't. I mean, there's lots of things I can mention, but if you haven't ever read Watchmen by Alan Moore, the film's good, but if you haven't ever read the original graphic novel, that's amazing, and it had a big influence on me growing up. All right, and so I'm going to quickly rush through some of these emails, and then we should get some live questions as well. So very quickly, we had one from Lars Falk Peterson, which is really quick email. It's just one line. It says, "Don't stop podcasting." It says AMA. The subject is AMA, but it says, "Don't stop podcasting." So thanks to Lars for that one. What else we got? We got, where are we now? Dunsty. I don't know how you say this. Dunsty. It says, "Greetings from Austria. 2 years ago, I found Linux Outlaws. Never listened to the podcast before. Never listened to a podcast before, sorry. I thought I'd give it a shot. Since then, I have gone through your entire back catalogue. Wow. And even though I also started listening to other Linux podcasts, there were just none that matched the quality of yours." Oh, that's nice. He says, "Well, tuning into an episode, you could always be sure that there would be not only awesome content, but a healthy dose of fun and rants." There he goes. Sad to see us go, so thanks for all the good times. Thank you to Dunsty for that. What else have we got then? I need to mention, we've got one from, oh God, I don't know how you say this. It says, I'm going to say, I'm guessing it's like a Finnish name, because the domain name is a .fi domain name, but it's Vili-Pekka Veino. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes, he wrote
How
this
do I
before.
say that? Yeah.
Vili-Pekka Veino.
Yeah, he says VPV. He says VPV for short, so I might just call him VPV.
Okay.
So thank you for that. Yeah, it basically is another one saying how much they enjoyed the show. Started listening in 2007, apparently. Wow, that's amazing. I started listening. I've been listening since 2007, but I've never sent any feedback. It says. I figured now is a good time. Wow, that's amazing. Well done there. I'm impressed by the what I mean is the holding off for that long. It's quite cool that they got in. A Fedora contributor apparently since 2006, which is cool. And they ended up tuning in to hear Max Spivak apparently.
Oh yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, that's cool. So thanks very much to VPV for that one. I'm scanning through for questions, you see, in these emails, because I know people will say in the IRC there's no questions in any of these emails. What's this one? Oh, here we go. Okay. So, okay, this does look like it's got some questions in it, I think. So it's from Vladislav Burakov, who sent us stuff before. It says, "Hey guys, just
friend of Nico Bellic. It's Vladislav Burakov.
His cousin, yeah." He says, "I just wanted to thank you for all your hard work and dedication." Blah blah blah. I'm going to skip that, but thank you very much for that. There is also a piece of feedback I would like to give. He says, "Number one, there are a lot of movie references in LO, which I didn't get most of the time. So I think some of the listeners as well, would be really delighted to see either of you." Either a section of the upcoming show, the new show we're talking about, or a separate show on its own where you discuss or review your favourite movies of all time.
Oh, yeah,
maybe we'll work that into the new one. Yeah. Number two, he says, "It's really amusing to hear Dan imitating all these funny accents. My personal favourites would have to be Sean Connery and a random Aussie guy. I think Dan should consider voice acting." Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. He's got a talent for that. That's very nice. I promise you I hadn't read that before. I just read that out. Anyway, so thanks for that, Vlad.
Speaking of that, I looked up Zardos again.
Oh no!
Last show, and I've there's stuff I've bleached from my mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know the speech it starts with? I mean,
I haven't really watched that. Did you watch the film? I haven't seen it in a very long time.
I've seen it before.
Oh, okay.
I've now watched parts of it that I've forgotten again.
Mm-hmm.
And it has this. It has.
Sorry, I'm laughing because in the IRC, Tommy Bobbins has just put not Zardos. At some point, always during the show, Zardos comes up. Zardos is in many ways the third host.
When his floating head comes up, and he gives this speech, and it has the divine lyrics or poetic words in it. The penis is bad. It's something with it shoots the seeds. It makes you whatever. The gun is good. The penis is bad. The gun is good. And then there's the scene where apparently they're like immortals in the movie, and they can't get erect, and they're trying to figure out if the character Sean Connery plays is like an immortal. So this woman has him standing in front of her naked and shows him like softcore porn, and nothing happens, and they're like really disappointed. And then Sean Connery just looks at her, like with this really pervy Sean Connery kind of look.
This is like go gadget. Dick or whatever. It's a weird film. It's a very weird film. People are asking what Zardos is now in the IRC. Look it up. It's Zardoz. I think it's pronounced. It's spelled. Google it. You will. It's a Sean Connery film from a very long time ago.
You will hate us. For it.
Yeah, it's weird. I want to take a question from IRC that's just popped up, which is a really good one. So this is from D-Mail, who says. Fab and Methodan, when you started Linux Outlaws, did you really imagine that Linux would be used on so many devices? What do you think?
The thing is, when we started the show, there were a lot of devices running Linux that I wasn't aware of.
Okay.
This is a difficult question because. The Linux as in desktop Linux or like Linux the kernel, and obviously Linux the kernel runs everywhere. The thing that did surprise me over, like if I look back over the time of the show, was Android. Like the way Android actually took off, and obviously this is the Linux kernel, but that did really surprise me.
Yeah, Android's been huge.
That didn't surprise me at all was stuff like the Raspberry Pi. I was thinking like small computer with Linux on, like, but didn't we have that?
What about the Steam situation though, and Steam OS and stuff? That surprised me a bit. I'm not a big PC gamer, so I'm not as up on things like Steam. But was that a surprise?
It kind of surprised me that it actually finally happened. It didn't surprise me as a concept because, even before we were doing LO, even before I was really using, when I was starting to get into use Linux, I was thinking these gaming companies are so beholden to Microsoft. And they so gamers are so beholden to Microsoft. If you look in gamer forums, the problems they have, like the updates, the driver issues, all this kind of crap, is a lot of that stuff's been solved on Linux. And a lot of that stuff is just you're beholden to Microsoft and they're kind of what they call their ecosystem, like their partners and stuff. You're beholden to all this shit and politics and whatever. And actually, it did kind of surprise me that it took so long for somebody. And it did surprise me that it was Valve, I have to say. But it surprised me that it took so long for somebody to just go, well, we can re-implement some of this stuff and then we can just do everything on Linux. Now the problem obviously is your market share and that, and we know all that. But I always thought that was kind of a no-brainer from a conceptual point of view.
Yeah, you're right from a conceptual point of view. Maybe the big problem I see at the moment, and it's getting better. Steam on Linux is pretty good; it works well. But the problem we seem to have at the moment is still most of the games don't work on Linux. You'll look at when you try and actually search the Steam store and you filter it by just games that have got a version that works on Linux, you very quickly get to a very short list of games. But it's growing, and maybe
I don't think that is that true anymore. What you don't I mean, you play a lot of you play AAA games, you play mostly GTA, but
True.
games like that. I mean, the thing that has changed very much is indie games. If you're into indie games, and there are a lot of people now that are really into indie games, which is one of the reasons for the success of Steam, and also for Steam has kind of created like a new ecosystem where like Craig Corba talks about this a lot, where it's now feasible to do an indie game, really an indie game, and market it over Steam, and that's what one of the hosts did, like Gunpoint. He wrote, while he was a games journalist on the side, he wrote a game and then marketed over Steam. It took him 2 years or whatever, and it's a pretty small game, but that was feasible, and that is kind of like, there's a huge ecosystem of games, and most of these run on Linux, because it's kind of like Minecraft and like indie people like that. They need everyone they can get, like every player they can get. They need to get them everywhere, and if they get them on Linux or on the Mac, that's good. Whereas like big titles, like AAA titles, the companies don't really care. Like GTA, they make so much money, and Overfist, they don't need to get that on Linux.
That's interesting. I mean, D-Mail actually says now, he says, what I find really nice and promising is that there is now even GCSE Linux command line coursework. So GCSE is like what you'd call a high school diploma, I suppose, in the US, or that kind of level. Usually you do it about 16, you take the exams. We call them GCSEs in this country. I didn't know that. That's really positive. Apparently, if you do computer science, you can do, there's a Linux command line stuff in the coursework, apparently.
We talked a lot about, like in the early days of LO, we talked a lot about education. I actually gave a talk at like Radio Live about.
Well, I mean, it's going back away now, but we've talked about it. I've said this before, but I did a computer science degree from 2000 to 2003, and in that whole computer science degree, and maybe it's a reflection on the university, I don't know, but it was at Chester University, if anyone wants to know, which was at the time part of Liverpool. It wasn't a separate university; it was part of Liverpool University. Anyway,
did you learn about cheese?
Yeah. Lots of cheese, yeah. But anyway, I went through a whole 3-year computer science degree, and I did quite a lot of stuff. I did web stuff. I did all kinds of programming, a lot of Java, which I haven't forgiven them for. A lot of Java stuff, which I've never forgiven them for. But I managed to do that without ever going anywhere near Unix. We didn't do anything about Unix. We were told what the name Unix. We never saw it. We were also never touched Linux or anything like that. And I mean, you're going back 14 years now, or a bit less if you take it in. I was there till 2003. I like to think, I really, really hope that university changed now, and you can't do a computer science degree without at least having to have touched a Linux machine or whatever. I only learned about Linux through a friend of mine at university who used it. On the actual course, we never used it at all, and we never used Unix even, which is quite shocking.
Yeah,
really.
I don't understand, like in schools, even the whole this dependency on like operating system on programs. We talked about Office and how, and I actually argued with this, and this completely threw me off. But like a CT editor, a colleague of mine, who didn't understand this, and I was like, he was completely not agreeing with me, and I'm like, it's wrong to teach children in school how Word works. You have to teach them how text, how word processing works.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, but you need to prepare them for work and stuff. Kind of, yes. But you can't, like, it's like if you teach them Word now, basically what you're teaching them is like Word 2014 or whatever, or Word Office 365, whatever. Like in 5 years, Microsoft, it is completely different. They come out with a whole new interface, everything is like thrown out of the window. They need to learn how word processing works, right? It's not like when you learn to write, like you don't learn to use a certain pen and nothing else. I mean, this is a bad example because it's not as specific, but I mean, people will get what I mean. I don't get I don't get that thing at all. Not to mention that his argument like depends on, because in Germany we have different school. High school we have 3 different levels, and the upper one is actually, the one I went to is actually to prepare people to go to university, which then you don't even actually need to teach them stuff they need at work, because that's what you do in university or after. And
Yeah.
even in university, like I don't like all these computer science and computer-based curriculums seem to be very oriented, like very focused towards tools, like or towards a certain language, right? And I would, if I wanted to learn, and I'm shit at programming, but if I want to learn programming at university, I would like to learn how to program, not how to program Java. Right?
Well, actually, sorry, I'm just going to say in answer.
Transferable skills in this.
Yeah. In answer to some of what you were saying there, one of the reasons they did give us for making us all learn Java at the time, it was a very hot thing at the time. It was going to rule the world, and hasn't quite worked out that way. But it was the fact that it did work on different platforms, so you could run a Java runtime on Linux or Unix, and also Windows.
Write once, debug everywhere.
Basically, yeah.
I think that's exactly the problem. You see this where like educators and like universities they get into these wrong tracks because at some point they believe Java's going to be the future. Well, kinda. We have Android now, and it's kind of important, but you know what I mean? It's like, COBOL is going to be the future, or whatever.
Yeah. We actually did quite a few different languages. We didn't just do Java. We did other things. We did a little bit of Perl, but we did everything on Windows. All of our web servers were on IIS.
Yeah, that's just a travesty.
I know. So we were running Tomcat on Windows. So we were running Java, doing Java server pages at one point, JSP, and we were running it on Tomcat on Windows, and invariably it crashed every fucking 10 minutes, and the guy had to go off and reboot the server.
I might have said this on the show before, I can't remember, but the reason I initially got interested in Linux, where this was like, I used it at uni and I hated it. The KDE machines they had there, I talked about that. But the reason I got interested again was I wanted to run, I think it was even Ruby on Rails, whatever. I want to run a web server. And I tried Windows, and like I was a student, I didn't have any money, and like I just grabbed whatever Windows server license I had. I think in the beginning, this was even before the Linux experience. This was way before. Like the only thing I could get my hands on, probably illegally, was like NT40 or something. And that was horrible, and then I tried something else. But like the experience of trying to set up a web server and like an environment to like do modern web stuff on Windows was so horrible that like after 2 weeks or something, I just gave up. I was like, I have this machine, I have this spare machine. It's like this isn't working. What else can I do? And then I started looking on the internet, and then I read about like Linux and stuff. And I thought, you can just download this?
Yeah, and people are talking about this in the IRC, obviously, as we're going along. And Mark from Ubuntu UK, Mark Johnson, said he was taught on OpenSUSE and Microsoft in his degree. He's younger than us. I've just told him to get off my lawn on the on the IRC, but he's way younger than us. So that's good. That's good to hear that some of that's happening now. It may just be that I'm a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to this. All right, and so we've got two more emails quickly to mention, then we should take more live questions as well. I know we're up to like 2 hours, but as soon as it's the last show, I think we can keep it going for a while. So we got one from a really, really old friend of the show, Mick, Aussie Mick. Mick McMahon, awesome. From Down Under. He's under. Yeah, good friend of ours. He's actually, for Fab and I, he's someone who kind of was involved when we really, really first started podcasting, when we did a thing called Feeble Force before Linux Outlaws, and that kind of died out, I don't know, in sometime 2008 or something, when we would both couldn't keep it up or were too busy or whatever. But anyway, Mick was a thing on there, so I'm going to read this.
Before Hello?
No. What I mean is after LO started.
Right.
It died out within a year, I think, of LO starting, because it just didn't last that long. But it was good fun, and it was cool. Anyway, we had people from all over the world on as hosts. It was a bit like a Twit kind of thing, although it was less newsy.
Weird.
It was weird, yeah.
We were
anyway,
weird superheroes, and I think mine was the Intero Bang.
Yeah, that's right. I had the human cloud, which now would be. I mean, the cloud thing wasn't like then. It wasn't like cloud wasn't everywhere. It was a separate joke. But now I could have been like, the human cloud would be quite good. Anyway, so we've got
all the data
from Mick, which is titled "A Feeble Fare Thee Well," which is nice. So I'm going to read this in an Aussie accent, I suppose, because it makes sense. He says, "Hi guys," or "Bye guys." It says the end of an era. I'll always remember you. Wow, this is like an obituary. I'll always remember you fondly, you and all your other feeble forces, for supporting me through a rough patch. That's true. I've kept in touch with most of you, some not as often as I should. All the best in your future endeavours. Cheers, Aussie Mick. So thanks, Mick, for that. I don't know what happened to my Aussie accent there. I'm losing that. Even that's deserted me.
And you want to hear from you more.
Yeah, get in touch, man. And we got a final email as well from Elwin Cole, who says, "Goodbye to Linux Outlaws." Blah blah blah. Again, I'm going to summarize this because it's not really a question email. It's more of a. It says, "Oh my God, it mentions Zardos." It mentions Zardos. It says, I'll have to read that bit anyway. So it says, "Yeah, hi Dan and Fab. I was a bit late to find this show. A bit late, sorry, to get to your last show tonight." This is the one that came in very recently. It says, I was a bit late to get to your last show tonight, but I just wanted to say thanks for all the podcasts and the Linux Outlaws you've produced over the years. I started using Linux in 2007, and a few months after, in the infancy of Linux Outlaws, I started listening to your shows, which also introduced me to podcasts. A lot of people say that about every other email says this is the first podcast they listened to.
This is good.
It's good, yeah. It says, "Thanks for all the laughs, the rants, and all the shit, in quotes, you have introduced me to over the years." He says, "I must get one of them Zardos cosplay outfits."
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know you're talking.
It says...
the penis is bad, the gun is good.
Yeah, so anyway, he says, "I've sent a donation from PayPal, which is really nice, thank you, so you can buy a beer or two. Thanks again, and I hope Linux Outlaws will ride off into the sunset." Elwin, so thank you, Elwin, for that. With that, I've finished all the emails, and we've been getting loads of really good questions from IRC, so being that this was supposed to be an AMA, maybe we should take some questions from the IRC as well. So if anyone's listening, I'll put some in here. I'll write in here as well. We've probably got some as we're going along, actually.
They should be suitably drunk now.
They're probably all discussing, all discussing schools and Microsoft still. Okay, so I'm just going to type in here. So since this
Method Dan, what the fuck is up with your limp mic?
Limp mic. Oh, sorry. It's probably because I'm moving away from it too much. I'm doing this and kind of going over here and back.
He's older too. Like the mic arm is flaccid.
It is a bit. Yeah. It is fucked up. I have to keep fixing it. He's got a yeah, that's the point. Maybe that's what you're talking about. I have to keep trying to fix it. I don't know what's going on. It's not the screw thing.
Mic Viagra.
Yeah.
I can hook you up. I get special emails for this.
Yeah. All right. And so I'm going to see what questions we can get from the IRC as well. Okay. Any questions? We need to talk about future plans as well.
For Flaps. What did Mr. Spock find in the toilet? Says Chronometer.
What did Mr. Spock find in the toilet? I don't know. Other people saying
what
hello
is my question is that? Let me. Okay, a Klingon beard. That's your answer.
Wow.
You know what struck me? I was watching The Hobbit, and I was very bored because I was like, this is a Hobbit 2. I was watching the extended edition, like 3 hours 50, whatever how long it is. Mm-hmm. So your mind wanders in a bit, like when Evangeline Lilly's not on screen. And the dwarves are basically Klingons. They behave like Klingons. They look like Klingons. They like their whole body language is very Klingon. Like especially Thorin. Like he just looks like the armor he's wearing. It's just like they're basically small Klingons.
Meanwhile, back in the chat room, that was actually a joke that
the captain's log.
Yeah. So the question. That's quite good. That could be a Christmas cracker joke. You know, like these jokes you get in Christmas crackers. Oh so it was, what did Spock find in the captain's quarters? What did Spock find in the toilet? And the answer is the captain's log.
Jeremy 99. It's kind of a more exasperation than a question. Fabsh had dreads? Yes, I did have dreadlocks for quite a while. Like actually on that photo at Linux Voice, I have dreadlocks, but you can't see them. Because they're kind of hidden behind the hat.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah, that's a long time ago. So we may as well... Well, Hicks is asking, is that Hicks from... I really hope that's Hicks from Alien. We've mentioned a lot... Or Aliens, sorry. We've mentioned a lot of Aliens references, haven't we? Yeah.
They're
anyway,
coming out of the walls, man!
I was thinking of Hudson's got the best quotes in that film.
Yeah.
He's got all the "We're gonna die, man, game over."
I hate that. I hate him. The best quote is the lady pilot. Express elevator to hell, going down.
Yeah. Anyway, so oh god, we're getting Star Trek jokes now. Mitzi says, "What do Captain Kirk and Andrex have in common?" They both wipe out Klingons.
Predictions. The book of.
Oh wow, where is that? Yeah, okay.
Dig that out.
If you've got it, hold on. He's actually.
The Star Trek jokes.
That does involve changing the book. Yeah, okay, excellent. Hicks says from Aliens, excellent. Okay, Joe's posted a question there. I've just spotted. I'll get to that in a minute. I think Fab's going to come back with his book of predictions. Did you guys ever wander into Poland or went?
I fell down.
All right. Well. All right. Let's do the book of predictions, and then we've got some more questions here to mention.
The red book.
Short controlled bears. Nice work there, Hicks. I'm loving your work. There's that one bit in the only bit I remember of Hicks in that, or the big quote, is that it's an oddly romantic scene where he says to Ripley, "Don't worry, if it comes to it, I'll do us both." So he's got the gun and he says to her, "Don't worry, if it comes to it, I'll do us both." And you go, "Oh, that's kind of sweet." Oh, actually, no, he's saying he's going to shoot them both. But anyway, still,
sweet.
Yeah.
Well, we had the prediction with the Abrams and Lindelof killing off Kirk, although they kind of killed off Spock, but then they didn't kill him really. So that didn't work. We have. I predicted that the quality of Ubuntu 13.04 will go down from 12.10. It's hard to judge. I think we said that at the point. I think that prediction came through. Microsoft will join the Linux Foundation. We both said that, but that hasn't happened yet. I predicted that Canonical will release a version of Ubuntu with the BSD licensed kernel.
Well, that hasn't happened.
You said that won't happen. Hasn't happened.
I got it right. Although it could still happen, it hasn't happened at this time.
This is wrong. I predicted that Bruce Springsteen's next studio album will deal with gun violence. He did re-record 41 shots on High Hopes, but I don't think that counts. I think this one came through. Because this was a prediction somebody else made, and I said 8th of February 2013, Microsoft will not release a Linux version of Office in 2013 or 2014.
Yeah, well, unless it comes out in the next week or two.
Yeah, I think that came.
That's not going to happen. Yeah.
I said that the always-on nature of the Xbox 720, well, we didn't know what the Xbox was called back then, will be a problem. The Xbox One is. People will bitch.
Yeah.
And that happened. We said on the 17th of April 2013 that Ubuntu will switch to systemd within a year. So that would be 14.04. And they did.
Cool.
I think that they do it by 14.04, 14.10, but they definitely did.
I don't know the exact answer.
I'm pretty sure they did it by 14.04. I'm pretty sure we got right on that. And we both said that Gabe Newell will get a robotic body.
Yeah. That hasn't happened yet. Oh, as far as we know, that hasn't happened yet.
We'll have to revisit this in future podcasts.
Yeah,
it's now the general red book. I keep bumping my microphone. I do that a lot recently. It's got other uses now, but I'll keep that around.
Yeah.
It's a 6-gun red book now. Anyway.
All right, so we have got some questions from IRC as well. This kind of fits actually. So some closing predictions, I suppose. Joe Ressington says, "Do you have any predictions for what will happen in the what will happen in the FOSS/Linux world over the next year or decade?" I don't know. That's a tough one. What will happen?
Leonard Puttering will finish his OS, or that could take
OS.
2 or 3 years.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, it's a tough one. We've kind of tried to talk about it.
Canonical will go bankrupt.
All right, okay. We're making just wild predictions.
It's on video. I called it.
Okay.
We'll get back to this at some point.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, if we're going for just stupid wild predictions, Microsoft will release a Linux distribution. I've always wondered why they haven't done that in the past. Why they don't just have like Microsoft Linux and their own little Linux distribution that's separate from Windows. So when people go, they kind of what they did with SUSE or OpenSUSE and Novell and stuff. When people come to them and go, oh, but we want Linux for this, they can go, oh, I'll use our Microsoft Linux, like Oracle have done with Unbreakable or Unfakeable Linux, as people call
Joe
it.
Ressington says, I think to my prediction with Canonical. That's my prediction.
Okay.
Fuck you, man. I've been podcasting. You didn't even think of podcasting.
Yeah.
Screw you.
All right, and lots of people.
See Linux joke.
Linux jokes. People are asking. Lots of people asking what our plans are for the future, basically. So we should probably talk about that because that is one of the big things. Lots of people are asking. What's going to happen from here? So I don't know. How do you want to?
Yeah. So I want to do. Well, we want to do a show. This was kind of my idea, but I think it had a lot of input from Dan and other people. We want to do a show that we're going to do next year. It's probably going to be a while. It's going to be a few months. So we don't know when, but I'm aiming for sometime 2015. Which will be probably twice a month, maybe. Not every week. It won't be like up-to-date news. We'll talk about news, but we'll talk about, I think, whatever interests us. But you need to have some like kind of defining thing. So I thought it'll be geek stuff.
Yeah.
And it'll be comic book geeks, movie geeks, whatever. There'll be Linux stuff. There'll be gaming talk. Basically, I want to talk about everything I want to talk about now. Warhammer games stuff, and then Dan wants to talk about stuff he wants to talk about, which is music and
Batman
and movies,
and
weird
music
movies with
and Batman.
Yeah,
and songs about Batman.
Games
and music
Batman
about
games.
Batman.
Hey, we can talk about the Batman Lego game.
Oh, I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, or whether I have or not.
You're
but
Batman.
If I haven't, no, I'm not. I'm Batman. No, I can't do it. I've lost my voice now. I'm Batman. Anyway, no, just quickly in case I haven't mentioned it, I'm sure everybody on the internet has seen this by now. But about 2 weeks ago, there was a fan film released called Batman versus Darth Vader. If you haven't seen it, it's a fan film, but it's incredibly well produced. It's about 6 minutes long, and just watch it. It's basically, without spoiling anything, because it's right at the start this happens, Batman goes onto the Death Star and to find Superman, who's been imprisoned on the Death Star, and then he gets into it with Darth Vader. So it's good. Just watch it. It's really good. So search for Batman versus Darth Vader, and you can't miss it. That was
stuff
cool.
like that. So people are trying to guess the name. Well, I kicked around several ideas. It's not as good as the Linux podcast, but I'm a huge fan of Fallout, so it's a bit inspired by Fallout, and it's inspired by Hollywood Babylon, who has a segment called Geek News. So I came up with this idea. So it's kind of, as you can see, the idea is still kind of fluid. The only fluid is the puddle of piss, and the only fluid I see is the puddle of piss refusing to pay us, says Jane. No, the situation is still kind of fluid. We still don't know exactly what we're going to do, but I think the name will be Geek News Radio, or GNR, and I've created a Twitter account for it. It'll be on the Six Gun site eventually, but there is at Geek News Radio. So follow that, stay tuned to that, and you will get news about what we're doing in the next year. And it'll be sometime, because I'm taking my studio apart, Dan's taking the studio apart, and we need to talk to some people. I want to get Dave on board, and we are in...
Yeah. Since you mentioned it, we may as well mention that Les Pounder as well is going to hopefully join us.
We are in negotiations with a certain Les Pounder, also known as the Chief.
I haven't spoken to him. I've only spoken to his agent at this point.
He's hard to get.
His agent says he's keen. So
yeah.
We'll see.
So the idea
yeah.
will be my idea will be that we'll do this show. Let's say we'll do it 2 times a week, and everybody brings topics that they're interested in, and then we'll just geek out about it, and we'll talk about the news. But it'll be like kind of free flowing and fun.
Yeah.
I think I want to have it. I want to streamline the production so that any of us can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that there can be shows where like you and Les do a show, for example.
Yeah.
Me and Dave do a show, or then we do a show, all 4 of us, or we get Bradley on, or whoever, like people we
guest hosts. Yeah,
I
think that'd be
find
really
interesting. And then talk about stuff. Have a way of producing it, uploading it, so that's all like quicker, and so that like individual of us can take like a week or 2 or whatever off, if they need to, if they're traveling, and get that kind of. Yeah, and Bobo Bex is right. It's GNR like the one from Fallout. Yes. It's a
also, I mentioned this, and I think Fab laughed when I mentioned it. But being an old Guns N' Roses fan from years ago, when I was a kid, I was a big Guns N' Roses fan, and they used to always have GNR for Guns N' Roses on their thing. So we might get some angry Guns N' Roses fans chipping in, going, where's Axl Rose? You could wear a bandana and then you'd look quite a bit more like Axl Rose.
Get dreadlocks back or whatever.
I could wear a top hat and I could look a bit like Slash. With a top hat with hair attached to it.
Fake hair, yeah. I think that's what he does. I think he lost his hair.
He probably does now. Yeah. Well, he's pretty old now, Slash. He's in his 50s. Anyway, so
so I thought that would be cool, and everything else will get nailed down.
Yeah. So people are asking what's going to be different. Well, it's not going to be about Linux. It's not going to be particularly. There may be some Linux mentioned, but it's really just kind of geeking out. So, for example, I mean, we talked about books before.
Will there be rants? Yes.
Yeah. It'd be nice to talk about books and other things. And so, in fact, I mentioned the Geek News section from Hollywood Babylon. So the sort of things they talk about as well. I'd like to talk about like the Suicide Squad film that's going to be coming out, which I'm really excited about, and the fact that Will Smith has been cast as Deadshot, which is crazy. But anyway, that's an idea of the sort of thing I'd probably talk about. Anyway, so lots of stuff there. On a kind of personal note, I mentioned people who are watching the video, people who are listening live will get pissed off because I keep kind of moving the camera, but I did point people over to there's a big mixer over there that's kind of just in the corner that used to be here on the desk. I'm going to rebuild this. You can see this whole room is a total mess. It's just covered in boxes and piled high with crap, basically. It now looks like some weird kind of, Anyway, you can't really see that one, but there's boxes everywhere. There's all kinds of shit piled up over there. I want to basically get my music studio working properly again. So get that whole desk over here, get this all moved, build and do more music stuff, basically. So that would be cool. Rat Hole Radio is going to keep going, so you can find me there at ratholeradio.org. Also on Floss Weekly occasionally. Fab, you can go and watch any German TV channel at some point. Fab will turn up.
And that's my blog, fabsh.com. I'll keep blogging.
Yeah, of course. We're not going anywhere. We're not leaving the internet.
One thing I wanted to mention, one thing I want to do, this is part of the workflow for the new show. It will be audio only.
Yeah.
Because the idea will be that we'll get other people on and we'll dig out a workflow that works for everybody, that's like, and the way of making it audio only is just, it's very easy. It's easier to do. It's like we don't have to piss people off with like video stuff, and it's just going to be easier, and I just want to do that. I like doing the video as it was, but I'm kind of, radio is cool.
Yeah. Mitzi says, I thought someone had lobbed a stun grenade into Dan's room. That's probably because I accidentally, for the people listening, I think I accidentally pointed my camera right at the light for a minute there.
Like flashbang.
Yeah, like a flashbang. So that's cool. Obviously, you can find us online and stuff. Go to danlynch.org if you want to follow. And also sixgun.org's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
so
no, it's not going anywhere.
The
saloon's going to stay there. I'm going to work on, getting the old LO episodes up. This is something I want to do. The time we're taking off is also a time where we can do stuff. Dan wants to do more music stuff, and I have shit to sort out. And that's just, that has the side effect that I think we'll be starting fresh after I don't know, whatever few months it's going to be. I think that's important. Gonna be a break, And I think also dropping the LO name is kind of also part of that.
Yeah, it's cathartic.
Yeah.
In a way.
Exactly.
It's a new thing. I really look at. I'm going to move my camera again because I've moved it around so much. I've chopped the top of my head off now. Yeah.
There's blood everywhere. Oh my god.
I know, yeah, it's dangerous. I think having other people involved as well is going to be really interesting.
Yeah,
and get some more input, more ideas and stuff. Because I mean, I've always loved. Listening to, there's loads of shows I listen to that's only one person that's great, but I actually do like it when you've got, like, say, one of those shows where there are like 4 different people on and they've all they're like slightly different opinions and all that. That's really cool.
And I've been talking about Crate and Crowbar, and they're like 4 main people who do the show, but they have a circle of friends. So sometimes it'll just be 2 of the original hosts and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I wanna do it like that. I wanna get a core crew together.
Crew.
It'll be at least 2 of them each show, and then plus other people.
That'd
be
be cool.
Like the A-team.
Yeah. The A-team, yeah. Well, we talked about this, didn't we? So I don't know what. In that shirt, you could be Murdoch. That's a very Murdoch shirt.
I would be Murdoch. I'm the mad guy.
Right. Okay.
The question is you or Dave? Who's BA?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I don't know, because neither of us are particularly BA-like either. So, I mean, in attitude and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Does that make Les face? Sorry, Les. I shouldn't have laughed quite that much, but I think you know what I'm saying.
That, Les.
Not that I could be face either, to be honest. So I think Dave might have to be face. Their face, man. I guess, me and Les can fight out for who's going to be Hannibal and who's going to be.
I like the ICs. It sounds like they like the idea, which is good.
It does, yeah, it definitely does.
Except for the audio only, but some people like that, other people don't. It's always
we never used to do. Obviously, we never did video because we didn't have video back in the day. We didn't have video.
We have cameras.
We didn't have. We weren't broadcasting live. Obviously,
Dan literally didn't have a camera. I sent him.
No, I didn't. No, you're right. Yeah. Partly because I've never really wanted to do a TV show as such. Because I mean, it's quite. I love radio and I love audio and stuff. Obviously, you can see all the audio kit around me. But I liked the idea of a radio show, like an audio podcast and so on. And I don't really think the video adds that often to what we do.
It's a bloody hassle. I mean, I do this. I got pajama pants on right now, so that kind of works.
Okay.
But I want a podcast in the nude, like especially in the summer when it's really hot.
Yeah, exactly. So we could all be totally naked and nobody would know. Really, that's the reason why it's audio only. We want to be totally naked. If anyone asks, that's the reason I'm going to give. We want to do the show.
People told me there's a theory that you can tell what people are wearing by their voice.
Can you? Okay.
Which I think is bullshit. Like I had to give. I'm going to cue you into something as proprietary information. I had to give a radio interview on live German radio. But the day before, I was at Katie's place in Hamburg. And I had to give the interview at 8 o'clock in the morning, and there was no way I was going to get back to Hanover. So I told them, just ring me at that number. And I gave them my Hamburg, Katie's number, Katie's landline. But because I couldn't be bothered to get out of bed, I actually woke up like 5 minutes before the interview, made a coffee, downed the coffee, went back into bed, and gave a live radio interview in my pajamas from Katie's bed. That was kind of...
That's very rock and roll. People are talking about we can be dressed up as Zardos while we do the show.
Oh God, yes.
And that's definitely the answer for me. I think we're all gonna dress as, I haven't told Les this yet, or Dave. Les and Dave don't know this. They might back out when they hear it. To be on the show, you have to be dressed as Zardos, but it's audio.
Zardos cast.
Yeah, Zardos cast. Zardcast. Or something, I don't know. So that's just the first naturist geek show.
Stop Zardos.
No, stop the Zardos. Yeah, okay. So hash stop Zardos. I like that. Yeah, Astrolic for that. All right. And so, I mean, I reckon I've got another half hour at least on my recorder, so we could carry on if people have got questions and stuff. I'm just wondering, is there anything else we haven't mentioned from the show notes?
No, I think that's it. I mean, that's the rough idea, and everything else we'll be telling people about. I'll be posting it on my blog.
I like this. Bandolier. Tired So Tired says bandolier and banana hammock. It should be our banana hammock. I haven't heard that in a while.
Banana hammock.
It makes me think of Scrubs. They used to say banana hammock a lot in Scrubs. Budgie smugglers, that Aussie thing. They say budgie smugglers.
At Geek News Radio on Twitter.
Yeah, what? I probably shouldn't be asking this live on air, but have we got a domain for this? Because people have just said I've just registered, like, whatever it was.
No.
Go on.
My plan was to put this on the Six Gun.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That'll work. People will find that. And, yeah.
That's okay, because just as somebody posted up, I've just registered. They were probably joking, but they posted up, I've just registered. I've just registered that domain, and I thought, oh shit, we should probably have that.
I did a little bit of research, and I think their domains were all taken anyway. But I thought, no, let's keep that. I mean, Six Gun is we've got stuff there, and I think it'll work. And we can live off the fame of LO a bit. So if people go to the website, they know we've done shows before, that kind of thing. I did a logo already. So if you go to the Twitter thing,
the logo's really nice. Yeah. I've got to say, I do like the logo. I can see that on T-shirts, but let's not mention that.
Yes, no, I will do that. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get the merchandise sorted out for next year, and I will do LO merchandise as well. But yeah.
Yeah. Logo Outlaws. Somebody mentioned.
Outlaws,
all right, and so let me see if there's any more questions as well. Any more questions? But there's. Seeing as we've got time, it's your own time you're wasting, people. That's all I can say. Much like a teacher. I mean, it's your own time you're wasting.
Stopping.
Yeah. Until we get caught.
I've got other SD cards here. We'll just keep going.
Yeah, I could probably find an SD card somewhere, probably. What are we up to? Yeah, 2.5 hours. That's not bad. Yeah. So I'm just trying to think of other things we should talk about, really. What else can I talk about?
Oh, one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to say this. This is kind of important. We were talking about stuff about the podcast and things we hadn't expected before and stuff. And I just want to say I do want to thank Katie. I called her many times on the show, producer Katie, who is as the show went on, stepped up from my girlfriend to being my wife.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And people were asking have her on the show and stuff, and she doesn't really want to. I think I don't know. She kind of didn't. Whenever I asked her, she's like, I don't know what I should talk about, whatever. You heard her laughing in several.
Oh, we've heard that, yeah. Particularly the one where we were in the car and we were on the way to, because she was in the back of the car as well.
There's one. Oh, she once recorded the intro, like the show title for me, because I had lost my voice. That was interesting. I just wanted to thank her, and that's one thing I wanted to say. If you have a partner, a significant other, it is you won't know until you do this how much strain that puts on them as well. Like how much, like I can only thank her. She's been incredibly patient. I mean, the amount of time in the last 7 years that I've spent on this show, that she was sitting next to me in the living room, that we could have spent together. And she literally never ever complained. I mean, I did certain things, and I always put like that kind of personal life first. Like if I had to edit the show and it was the weekend, like I used to edit the show during the week when I was a student, but later I couldn't do that anymore. So and when there was this thing where I had to edit the show on the weekend, there would be the choice of us spending time together or the show coming out like a day or two later. I always put her first, and this is sometimes why it took like 5 days to release the show. But I think that's also very important. Like you don't underestimate what kind of pressure this puts on other people that are living with you. It's actually I find it quite amazing that she actually didn't run away. Like,
it is, yeah. It's an amazing. It is a lot of stuff.
I actually do think that it did put. It's a lot of time you're spending with something like this.
Yeah. Mitzi in the IRC says, I'll miss Fab's hair. To which I had to respond, of course, I miss my hair. I used to want to
Yes.
have hair, and now I miss that more than yours, I'm afraid, Sully.
Thanks to Katie. I think that she was a very big part of the show, even though you never really heard her.
That's true.
Only for the time, like when I was doing the show in Bonn, and like literally, we lived in this like flat. Dan's been to the flat. It had like downstairs, the kitchen and the living room was one room, and then it had a guest toilet, and then it had a staircase up to the top where the bedroom was, but that was like open. Like the stairwell was like open plan, so you could like shout through. And then there was a bathroom at the top. So the kitchen, the living room, and the bedroom was one room, technically. And I was doing podcasts in the middle of the night. Like Katie was either sitting on the couch 4 meters away, listening to the TV on headphones, and like really trying really hard not to make noise when she wanted to make herself a cup of coffee. Or she would be in bed trying to sleep while I ranted about some kind of crazy Linux thing. So that that was kind of I find it still amazing today. I mean, after that, I lived in the UK, and then I had a bit more time to podcast alone and stuff. And actually, funnily enough, now where Katie's in Hamburg most of the week, I actually had less time. Like over the summer, I thought, well, this will be like the UK again. But I ended up like driving over to Hamburg on the motorcycle a lot, so I actually didn't have as much time in the week as I thought I'd have, but still.
Yeah, it's a bit mad. People are still discussing my hair in the hours too, apparently, or lack of it.
You had more hair when you started the show.
I did have more hair. People are posting pictures, but somebody said I want to see picture. The blob, it says we need to see pictures of what Dan's hair looked like, preferably long-ass rocker hair. That was actually people find that hard to believe. I haven't had that kind of hair since I've known Fab, and these days it's not really possible. But when I was in music college, I wanted to be Eddie Vedder, or like James Hetfield or something like that, and I had hair like all the way down to my waist, pretty much, just like all the way down my back and stuff. I think I wasted it all. Maybe that's what it was. I wasted it all in those early years. But I'll try and find a picture if I can. There are some out there.
I actually have gotten I've gotten a lot more gray hair. I don't think you can see it on the camera, but I've got like white ass hair now from like I don't know. It started at the age pretty much.
Okay.
It's like it's this job. It's very
well, I've got no sympathy for that because I've had grey hair since I was 13. So it's tough. What can I say? It's tough around here. It's genetic, I think. The bits that aren't bald are grey, pretty much, or they're mostly grey these days. I did. I mean, I did say ages ago. So it's something I tell a lot of people. Fab knows this already, but I've got two older brothers who are both almost 10 years older than me, and one of them's bald and the other one's got like, he's not bald at all, he's got loads of hair, but it's all grey. So when I was younger, I used to think when my hair started going grey when I was about 13, I used to think, oh, that's okay, that means at least if it goes grey I won't go bald, and then I can just dye it and that'll be fine. And then of course it turned out that I ended up with both, so well done there. But it's tough shit. It's first world problems. We played first world problems on a previous show. It's very much first world problems when you've got time to worry about not having enough hair.
Mitzi says, "Gray hair is how it starts. Take it from a fellow crowd." What does that mean? Like gray hair is how it starts. Next thing you know, you're Hitler.
Hitler reference.
Hitler mention in.
Hitler mention, yeah. Have we had a Hitler mention? I don't know. So it's been an amazing few years. Actually, one thing that we kind of said this before, but I want to make sure you spend enough time saying this is just a huge thank you to everyone who's listened and everyone who's been a guest or everyone who's sent us an email or whatever, anybody who's been involved or been to OggCamp and stuff. That's something somebody asked as well, what's happening to OggCamp in the future after this. So we should answer that, I suppose. Basically nothing. It's going to carry on. It's not dependent on us, essentially. We'll still be involved, and OggCamp will march on, and you can come along and say hello, and we'll probably be there. And
maybe we'll have a live Geek News Radio there.
Who knows? It might happen. Yeah, it might happen. That's true. We should do that. We should do that and get like as many hosts on there as we can. We'll have like 25 hosts on that. Wouldn't really work on one show. Maybe cram everyone on stage. But yeah, a huge thank you to everyone who's listened. Because as I mentioned earlier on in the show, and I don't want to bang on about this too much, but I really didn't think anybody would ever listen to this show, and I really didn't think people who made the software that I use, particularly, even though it's open source software, free software, and it's not that unbelievable that you can get in touch with the developers. I never believed that some of the people who've made things like, really important software, and people who've been, like Bradley, for example, who's involved in the drafting of GPL v3 and all the other amazing things he's done, and I never believed people like that would listen to the show and come on the show and kind of be so cool and nice to us and all the rest of it. So it's really cool, and that's because all you people listened to it and mentioned it and shared it with your friends and so on, and yeah, and I can't say thank you enough for that. So there we go. And I know Fab feels the same.
Whatever we do in the future, we definitely have to keep those contacts alive.
Yeah, definitely. What's someone saying here?
Keith said the gray hair leads to Hitler. System D leads to Hitler. Video podcast, you guessed it, also Hitler.
Is there anything that doesn't lead to Hitler according to this? Okay. Mitzi says always Hitler, so there you go. Yeah, shall I? I don't know whether I should do this or not. I was going to say to you, I might just read down the whole list of people who are in the RSM channel. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so some of these people may not actually be listening, so that's going to be interesting. So starting from here, we've got 97 people. This is going to take a while. So I'll quickly read them as fast as I can. We've got AF55, AK Blindy, Alison Chaikin is in the chat room, and the Tech. I think that was pronounced Andro User, Apple on D, Astral C, Bobo Bax, we mentioned before, Brain Spoil, Brownout, Cali, Lid, Clevey, one of the Cleves, CMN, Core Nominal, of course, can't miss him, CrossGS, Cueball, Dane, or DLN, sorry, DALN, I thought it said Dane, Dasfort, that's cool.
That's a bot, I'm guessing.
Yeah, possibly. D-Mail, Dogs, Dr. Co-Candy, DRW, Dylan Chase, E2JK, that's Emilian who's listening, Arilon, FCRS, Fighting Boredom, Flywheel, Faulty, who sent us loads of feedback, Fun Goat, we've had in the IC for a long time, Fontom, Grelbar, Grummy, GVSU Phil, that looks like, Harry Monster, hello Nathan and Katie who are listening, Harry Monster, Harris L. Don, Henry Sprague, Hicks, who I mentioned before. This is going to take longer than I thought. James ZP, Jason Wert, Jeff G, Jeremy99, Joe Ressington, Joe Ress for short, John ___, Jonathan D, Jonathan D, Jay Stoker, K5 Tux, Kabads, Kabads, Cabniel is an old friend of the show, Cat G, who I just mentioned.
People are changing their nicks now.
Oh, they are, you bastards. Anyway, Keith ZG. You're making them all things with Z in them, so there'll be shitloads more at the bottom. Keith ZG, Kilgore X, Clunker, Chris Bezuski, Chris Wizbicki, I can't say that, sorry, mate. Lara Man, Lennart 1. I wonder if that's Leonard Pottering, I don't think it is. Linux Fork, I think it is, LNXFRK. Are they still changing the names, right? Okay. Never mind. Who else? Where are we up to? I'm lost now because people have changed their names. Here we go. Lucid Blair, Mark Dude, Mark Johnson is Mark. Matt GBRP, Mitzi Nab, Nail Ju. I don't know how you say that. Nailuj. It's Julian, wasn't it? Yeah. So I haven't seen. Yeah. I mentioned before we haven't seen him since FOSDEM. He came to FOSDEM. Cool. So I'm glad to see you still around. NDS.
I drove him home in my car once.
Oh, there you go. Nick
Amsterdam, I think.
Ah, okay, cool. Wow, that's a long way.
That was Gladek from Gladek. Den Haag?
From Gladek.
Somewhere.
Okay. Nice. We got NDS, Necronian 9, Neutronium, not event time, apparently. NCS, NY Bell, Oscillic, Andy's here as well. That's nice. Good to see you, dude. Fantagorth, Proton, Puffin, QEDX, Quedex, I don't know. I don't know how you say this. Quasi Noxon. People are making their names hard for me to say now. Rev Beraldo, Seamus, Stuce, SJ.
Leonard System D.
Yeah. Slasher, Smaudet, Step John, Svever 65, Swift 110, Scythe, The Blob, Tired So Tired, Tommy Bobbins, Torgrim, Ultra Analog, VPV, Web Pigeon, another Web Pigeon apparently, got 2 machines. Windigo, hey, Jake, good to hear you, man. Laura Man, again, who's changed his name with the Z at the start to get to the end of the list. I'm on to you. And Zorro as well. Zorro. Somebody changed their name to Zorro to get to the end of the list. So thank you all for being with us. That's very cool.
Cool.
I don't know, have we got any final questions to answer, or should we play some music and talk about that?
That's it. I love Zardos.
All right, then. All right, so I'm going to get myself... Well, you need to talk for a minute while I get myself...
This is sad, yes. Dan said he would play a live song for the last episode, and he asked me what song I would like. And being me, and this being the last show, I very selfish and requested a song I really like. Obviously, the Bruce Springsteen song. This is... I requested The Ghost of Tom Joad, which I think is one of his best songs, which people might know actually from Rage Against the Machine. Did a very cool cover version of it.
Yeah, there's not going to be any Tom Morello guitar in this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, which is why Tom Morello is now actually touring with the East Street Band. Then actually he's got one of those harmonica things.
Yeah, one of those. This is really dangerous. This is really dangerous because it's going to get the wires cut off my headphones.
I watched a concert by Willie DeVille. I don't know if you remember him, crazy blues guy.
Yeah.
He was given a live concert in Berlin, I think, which I have a DVD of. Where at some point he puts on this neck brace thing for the harmonica, and he just goes, I fucking hate Bob Dylan for introducing these things.
They're not the easiest things to use, I'll be honest. It's a bit awkward. Hang on, I'm going to move. Sorry, this is always going to happen. I'm still getting myself kind of sorted out here. Let me get the lyrics up on the screen as well.
This is actually, the acoustic version is the original version. This is from an album called The Ghost of Tom Joad, which came out in '98, I think. Which I always have very melancholic. It's a very melancholic album, and I gave this to my father as a Christmas present, and because it also came out in November or something. And I can remember we were in the Netherlands, so it was really dark and cold, and we kept listening to this music. So for me, it's always it's like winter music.
I've got to be honest, I didn't really know the song that well before. I mean, I'd heard it, I think, but I didn't really know it that well. But I've been listening to it a lot recently. Obviously, I've been trying to learn it in the last couple of days. But I've listened to it a lot, and I really like it. Yeah, it's a nice
I like
song.
the sentiment. I think it also fits the show. It is called, it talks about Tom Joad, who is from the Grapes.
Grapes of Wrath, Steinbeck, yeah.
Yeah. So that's obviously where the influence is from.
All right, I'm almost ready. I may have to take the headphones off actually because I can't get this contraption around my neck.
That'll work.
Okay, so I'm going to take my headphones off for a minute, so I won't be able to hear you for a moment. But just give me a second. Okay. All right, so.
I mean, you're playing.
That's
the song.
better. Sorry about that.
You can deal with that.
If anyone watching the video can probably see, I'm struggling a little bit for space here. All right, and so let's see how this goes. All right, should we? Hang on, I'm going to put one headphone on so I can hear you from it. Should we say goodbye?
We should say goodbye. Yes. Yeah. Just one thing to say. Stay free. Stay open source, and we'll see you on the road.
Yeah, and keep in touch, people. All right, and so this is the Ballad of Tom Joad, and I've changed the key a bit because it was easier to sing. So let's see how this goes. All right, then. I hope it's not too loud on the mic, so it goes like this. Man walking down the railroad track, going someplace that there's no going back. Highway patrol choppers coming up over the ridge. Hot soup and a campfire under the bridge. Shelter lines running around the corner. Welcome to the new world order. Family sleeping in the cars in the Southwest. No job, no home, no peace, no rest. The highway is alive tonight. Nobody's kidding nobody about where it goes. I'm sitting down here in the campfire, searching for the ghost of Tom Joe. Pulls a prayer book out of his sleeping bag. Preacher lights up a butt and takes a drag. Waiting for first will be last, and the first shall be last. In a cardboard box near the underpass. Got a one-way ticket to the promised land. You got a hole in your belly and a gun in your hand. Sleeping on a pillow of solid rock. Bathing a city aqueduct. The highway is alive tonight. Where it's headed, everybody knows. I'm sitting down here in the campfire light, waiting on the ghost of Tom and Joe. Tom said, Mama, wherever's a cop that's beating a guy, wherever a hungry newborn baby cries, where the fight against blood and hatred in the air, look for me, Ma, and I'll be there. Wherever somebody's found a place to stand, or a decent job or a helping hand, wherever somebody's looking to be free. Look in their eyes, Mama, you'll see me. The highway is alive tonight. Nobody's kidding nobody about where it goes. I'm sitting down here in the campfire light, with the ghost of old Tom Joe. There we go, just
that
about.
Was so good, I didn't want it to end.
Yeah, being a big fan that you are, you probably noticed I messed some of the words up.
Who cares?
The rhythm's really difficult on that song, actually. There's like too many words to fit into each line.
Yeah, that's Bruce.
Oh
man,
so
I've seen him do it live. I've seen him mess it up.
Oh, in that case, I don't feel so bad. Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
I also don't understand the bit where he says underneath the underpass. I always thought it should be under the overpass, but
yeah, you're right. Actually, the underpass would be under, wouldn't it?
Every time I listen to that, I would go like,
Yeah, that is a strange one. Anyway, so yeah, nice. Thanks to everyone for listening, and and it's been cool. And don't worry, we'll be back. And as I said, keep in touch with us via our various Twitters and blogs and other things. And and take care. And
this SD card completely.
Yeah, and listen to Rat Hole Radio, read CT magazine. If you speak German or learn German, and then read CT magazine, and that's Microsoft,
because my Dutch is excellent.
Is there a German word for firewall, just out of interest, or is it das Firewall?
That's one of the words where we just say firewall.
Just say firewall. I like that.
The German version would be Feuerschutzwand, which you really don't want.
Okay, there we go. So there's no German word for firewall. You've learnt that out. You've learnt that well, there is, but nobody uses it apparently. All right, and so yes, as you said, stay free, stay open source, and thanks for everything, everyone. And we'll be back. So stay in touch.
Thanks for listening to 370 weird ass episodes.
Oh, I nearly forgot to say. I wanted to finish by saying so long and thanks for all the fish. It kind of seems appropriate.
Here we go.
Cool.
That's it. Yeah. This is the end.
My own.